Sorry.
I'm in Max. You are listening to Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. I'm in Max.
Oh.
Pursuing the RPG hobby.
That was
with
our camera.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah, we need these.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Season 22, Episode 10 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy.
I'm in the doghouse, I think, all of a sudden.
You're in the mush pot.
All of a sudden?
A little bit.
Yeah, all of it.
Sweet.
We were playing Duck, Duck, Goose.
Always.
Yes.
Stork, hi.
It's Suck Duck Stork.
I'm your...
That feels fine. That makes me a duck, I think.
Yes.
Abria. Hello. That's my duck voice.
Does the duck sound like?
I don't know. It's like vaguely Canadian.
That'd be a goose, then.
Yeah.
Oh, is it a good? It is a
Canadian
goose.
geese? Yeah.
Shit.
They may have ducks. They have ducks. I'm sure they have ducks.
Yeah.
All geese, no ducks.
No, they're not allowed. In this episode of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast, we will discuss repercussions of PC's past actions. Joe from the IE writes in about stakes in combat, and longtime listener
Steaks.
So hungry.
Kairaku.
Nailed it.
Kairaku.
Got it in one.
Yeah. Sends a diverse mutterings in a very long email, possibly a record breaker,
What?
Right.
and a tale of unintended consequences. There's only 2 emails because one of and this is 11 pages.
Oh my God.
This is like
It is-
the
Did you
old
read
shows.
it? It's pretty fun.
I read it.
It's jib-worthy.
It's so good.
When an email gets that long, I have to read it because it's like someone's going to slip in something horrible.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Sometimes.
Well, and they took the time
Yes.
to manually type the whole damn thing out, correct it, utter, and send it to us. And that,
He didn't correct.
He didn't correct it.
English may not be his first language.
That's true.
Australian might be his first language.
Yeah.
And if you'd like to email us, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. And we're on all of the social medias as happyjacksrpg, except for the ones that we're not.
If you
And
Google
you
Happy
know what
Jacks,
to do with those.
No, don't do that.
if you just Google Happy Jacks, and you get past the Who song, we're the next one up there. That's us. That's us. No, we're not the Who. We're not the Who. So yes,
I've never...
What are you talking about?
Google Happy Jacks.
I'm going to do that right now. I'm gonna
I got
Google
porn
Happy Jacks.
one time.
Did you?
I did.
Oops.
Yeah.
No. So Who have a song called Happy Jacks?
I got Happy
No,
Jacks.
Happy Jack's RPG Podcast.
Nice. So we are number one.
No,
There
wait,
you go.
wait. No, Happy Jack's Pie and Burger. It's a restaurant
Oh, see,
Where
I
is
got
in Bakersfield.
Save on Happy Jacks at Walmart is what I got.
No, I got...
We're being carried at Walmart apparently.
Yes.
That is true.
First thing that came was us, and then the Happy Jack's bar, Happy Jack Animal Products,
Oh my.
Happy Jack's Restaurant Delivery,
Animal
through
products.
It's
Grubhub.
for animal husbandry. Don't think it's not.
The Who aren't even on the first page.
So good to know. Good to know.
At
But
least
we
on-
are.
At least on mine.
Hooray.
All right. So yeah, all the social media, Happy Jack's RPG.
Yes.
All one word. And if you'd like to watch the show live, you can watch us stream the show here at Twitch, not YouTube yet. But someday we'll be back on YouTube.
YouTube sucks.
It's not our fault. That's all we have to
It's
say.
kind of my fault. I was
It's not.
there when shit went down.
You were there. That's not the
What
same.
did you say?
I
What did you
said
say?
It happened because I said nothing.
Well, for those of you who haven't seen the post, we got flagged for spam on YouTube because of one of the errors when we were streaming. We started
Had to restart
streaming
a couple
and had to
times.
restart a couple times because of some technical issues, and YouTube's algorithm flagged that as thinking we were spamming, which we weren't, but whatever. So we got put in the doghouse for like 2 months.
And because the company that won't be evil doesn't actually have a customer support
Human beings.
yeah, they don't actually.
place, and
yeah.
there's not actual human beings working there,
Yeah,
then it just sits there until mid-September.
yeah.
or something.
Mid-September, our flag should go away, so we should be out of the doghouse then.
Or
Hopefully,
it won't, and
or it
they'll
won't.
just, continue not
I'll
being
just
evil.
continually, manually post all the videos to YouTube every week. It'll be
Thank
fine.
you.
No
She's
problem.
doing all this work.
Atta girl.
It's not like she's not busy and stuff.
I know. It's
We-
summer.
We have a game convention coming up
Yes.
August 31st, September 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at the LAX Hilton Hotel. Strategicon.net if you are interested in going or want to know more about it. Are you going to go?
Can't. I'll be on the honeymoon.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
What?
I'm so sorry.
Can't you honeymoon at the GameCon?
I'm actually a little disappointed. I was
What
like,
a
I thought
wonderful
I'd be back
idea
in
for a
time.
honeymoon.
Right? Your husband can stay in the hotel room the entire time, and you go down a game.
He loves board games, actually.
Oh, then
so-
you'd have fun.
Right? Are you wearing a shirt for it?
Yeah, this actually is a
Strategicon.
Strategicon shirt, yes. I love their shirts.
I like
They're always
the shirt.
tie-dyed, because
Yeah.
Eric loves tie-dye shirts.
Yes.
That's right.
Real good colors.
These are fabulous
Enjoy it.
colors.
Are you guys all going to be there?
Yes.
Without me?
I'm not.
I will
Not
be
at all?
there.
Not at all?
Probably not.
Okay.
I'm going to be running a game. I don't know what that game is yet, but it'll be great.
Typical Kimmy, and
That's
they're always
pretty-
amazing.
Yeah, she's never wrong.
She's really an improv comic. I mean,
Yeah.
she just gets up there. She the night before, she comes up with some stuff, and then shows up, and it's this amazing game, and everybody loves it, and then she's like, I don't even remember what just happened.
Fact.
It's astonishing. She's so shoots from the hip now. It's so cool.
Kimmy
I don't have that kind of
Do you
confidence.
shoot from the hip, or do you prep like mad the night before?
I've done both.
Okay.
So depending, I'm getting better at shooting from the hip.
Right.
But there are still some things that I like prep the night before. For Wild Talents, when I run that does take more prep the night before.
Sure.
For like PBTA stuff, I do most even character creation stuff at the table now. So
Okay.
it's exciting.
It's amazing.
Kimmy ran a Demigods game at my bachelorette party.
Yes, I did.
That was, and we were running like a different game on the other side because I wanted to do a bunch
You
of
took it with all the new people who'd never played
Yeah,
anything.
because I was like, I trust you to take these baby birds to freedom.
Yeah.
And I don't want to play with them right now, so I'm going to go in the
Yeah.
other room. But we all kept like pausing and like fucking meerkats, just like listening. as
What
this
amazing
group-
thing just happened over there.
Yeah, it was really cute.
Meerkats.
And all of my other friends, like, they still come up and they're like, yeah, like a bunch of stuff happened. I'm like, shut up, I wasn't there. I don't care. Fuck you. I'm jealous.
Last time I invited
wonderful.
Kimmy
guys-
to one of my gaming parties.
Well, you guys are in the other room playing Powered by the Apocalypse too. So it was
yeah,
one of those
Apocalypse
things-
World.
Yeah, Apocalypse World. That's what it was. And it's like you and Adam and Rob and
Dave.
you remember Rob, right, Stu?
Which Rob?
Yeah, the short one with who hates Skechers. Yeah.
That's his brand.
And Dave,
That's-
like, there's like this whole
Yeah.
Happy Jacks contingent in the other room, and at first I was just like, oh, okay, I'll play with the new people. Hi, new people.
And you were in like the children's table. They like put you
My
in the
name
other
is
room
Miss
with the children's.
Kimmy.
Yeah.
It's like so everyone else is at the big boys' table eating the turkey
Yeah.
and everything, and you guys are over there like sitting in the
Jeff
little chairs.
Chalkboard, Miss
Miss
Kimmy.
yes. We're going to play what's called an RPG. That
Well-
stands for role-playing game.
For what it's worth, they were all from my D&D group.
Yeah,
that was
no,
like,
they
the
weren't,
first game we
yeah.
ever played. And it included my now husband,
Yes.
who like walked in after and
so
was telling me
excited.
about his character, which was a character I was gonna play in our Demigods game, but he was like giving it back to me like he had fucking thought of it. I'm like, yeah,
and yet
that's the capitalism character I told you about.
And you married him anyway.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
Because that could have been a deal breaker
Ryan.
right there.
you only had a week to cancel at that point. So.
Exactly. I was just like, let's just do it.
We already paid for
It was
shit.
super fun, though. And it was really cool playing with people who were so used to playing like D&D and kind of doing that free form thing. And one of the girls had never played an RPG at all, and she
yeah.
started getting really into it. She played the warrior, but it was really neat to see the people who like were used to like kind of like the turn-based type thing and like really structured, being like, okay, I have an idea, I'm gonna do it. And I was like,
I have an idea.
do it.
Can I do it?
Yeah.
Yes, you absolutely can. What is it you want to do? I mean, really, it's I want to aim for something. Can I do that? Yes. Oh my god!
I only rolled 2 dice. This is amazing.
Oh my god!
so freeing.
Yeah.
It is.
It was very fun.
Tell me what you want to do, and I'll tell you what you have to do to do it.
Yeah.
That's it?
It's very good.
That's the
and I still
rules?
rave about it.
That's
I just wanted to
exciting.
compliment
That's good.
you
I'm
as a
glad.
DM, so.
Yeah. No, I'm probably going to be running, if Jason's okay with it, I haven't asked him, I probably should ask him before I say this, but I'm probably going to run Demigods at least once at the con, and then maybe something else. We'll see.
Again, shooting from the hip. She's making it up.
Nice.
Making it up.
She's awesome.
So good.
Can you do me a favor?
Totally.
Behind the paper towels is a bear. Can you hand me the bear?
The bear.
Behind
The beer opener bear.
It's code. Behind the paper towels is a bear. The fat man walks alone. Ah.
The storm
Oh,
rages at
Tomes is in the chat room.
Tomes!
Yes, and he is watching the Gen Con Ennies, and he's very he regrets to inform us that there's no award for Happy Jacks RPG at the Ennies this year.
No.
I'm shocked.
This
Yeah.
is a nice shock surprise face.
We're kind of the
We
redheaded
don't
stepchild.
play D&D.
Well, I also didn't.
yet.
We don't
I'm not,
ever-
we'll never again
yeah.
give them money so I can be nominated because
Yeah.
that's how the process starts.
Yeah.
We've
I
been
love
around
big
long
awards.
enough.
Submitted.
How much money? Like, I have like $11.
That would
It's
probably
an honor
would
just
cover-
to pay to be nominated.
That would. It doesn't
I'm
give you
not
the
about
nomination. That gets your stuff in front of the people who will determine who will be nominated.
Oh my god, that'd be amazing. We just like a GoFundMe for the Emmys.
Yeah.
$9 or whatever the cost
So
is.
good. It's coming out of the wire like,
Oh, we should do
I
that.
don't know what this
I could see you standing up there. I would like to thank all the people that helped me get nominated. It's like,
But we have to do a rule where like you can't donate more than like whatever the minimum amount is, like a quarter.
50 cents.
Yeah.
Probably $1.
Probably that would.
I have 9 people I would like to thank
We just need to make it
without
like
their support. Without
all internet handles.
Yeah.
It's like,
Without-
Yasha fan 432
Without your 90 cents, I could not have made it.
XXX Big Duck Energy XX.
Without your 20 cents, I couldn't have made it.
Thank you.
No, wait, we're almost done. I've got another 600,000 more to go.
they start playing you off with the music.
Yeah. It'd be amazing.
Okay, now we really
Now I
never,
want this.
Yeah, well now like, we can never actually do it because it will never be as good as we've imagined it.
Right?
That's true.
Right?
Shush phone.
Why does this taste like a dark beer?
I don't know. What is it?
Fat Tire?
I don't
It's
know.
because it's malty.
Did you leave it out for a while or something?
So
Well, I mean, it's not cold. Anyway, sorry. We'll go on to the show now.
Oh, right.
Great. There's a show.
I wanted to talk about Repercussions.
Okay.
And this comes up specifically because in our last L5R game, spoilers, it's not up yet. So if you haven't watched it and you care about spoilers, skip about 15 minutes.
And I will screw up the setting, and I will still do, like, play around in that sandbox that you won't appreciate. So you can at least anticipate that.
Anyway, in the last game, I presented you guys with a repercussion
Yes.
Yes.
because of
My bad
choices
choices.
that were, well, not necessarily bad choices,
No.
but choices that were made in the previous game.
Right.
Basically what happened, the party gets a Kansen possessed sword. A Kansen is an evil Japanese spirit.
Which is really great because I was in trigonometry and there was consons and cosines and
Yeah.
Right. Cosines.
That was a good joke.
yeah, not really.
Nah.
Thank you.
There
for,
are no
Thank you for.
cons.
Tangents.
Cosines. What's the other
Sines
one?
and tangents.
Tangents, that's it.
That's what this is right now.
Yes. Anyway, and the party got the sword, and they were supposed to bring the sword back to their daimyo. And there were they didn't know this, but there were Kuni witch hunters there waiting for it.
Yeah.
Instead, the party to escape had to take a very circuitous route. And Dave's character said, "Hey, there's this just in Lionlands, not far from here. There's a temple. We can take it there. They can probably handle it there. So you take it there." And I thought in my head, that's probably going to do something because these aren't like Kuni witch hunters.
Right.
These aren't people that are trained in dealing with the Shadowland.
Right.
So it happened. Your character, Stork's original character, made a sacrifice so that he was ensured that the sword would be melted and destroyed. And
Spoilers.
well, yeah, I
already
said
said
that
that,
already.
yeah.
So the party goes back. They go on another mission. They come back from that mission. Now they're going to be sent somewhere else, and they're going to be passing by this same temple.
Right. This is ground zero, right there, where that first sword was
Right.
ostensibly destroyed with the sacrifice of
Right.
Masashi. Not Masashi.
Wakizashi.
No, Kazuki.
Kazuki.
Kazuki. So
Kazuki.
and which I need a comb. Anyway, they go past it, and they'd been having some sort of prophetic dreams involving one of the characters. I think Jim's character had a dream about this place, and he, as a player, didn't even know anything about that story,
Right.
which is why I gave him that.
GMs, take note. And for a second here, you decided that you wanted to give us all dreams. This is not anything that we have as a subtractor or whatever. You decided, I'm going to give the players dreams.
Yes.
So I actually wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Uh-huh.
It's just maybe just to tick in the conversation, but why is it you decided to give us all dreams?
I wanted to convey some information, and I thought that was the easiest way to do it, and because of the fact that samurai are supposed to be fairly stoic people, that there might be some reluctance in
sharing
these disturbing things.
Absolutely.
And but I also did it because I wanted to convey some information. If you had all of it out on the table, you'd go, "Oh, this is what's going on." But I knew that wouldn't happen,
right?
Because there's going to be people that are going to hold stuff back,
right?
So
that's and that's really interesting as a GM. Now, this is something that could be overused, but you've done it a couple of times, but only like once per game,
right?
Maybe. Maybe twice, if that. And I thought it was a really cool tool because it brought the party together in places. It also, we all know that there's other information that other people know, but now we don't know. So it really upped the stakes and really made for a much more interesting playground than not having that. All you had to do is send a couple of texts to a couple of people, and all of a sudden you've elevated the game into a really interesting area. And a lot of things happened because of those.
Right.
And it's a simple trick, but a really powerful one, which you need to be careful to use, but also you were able to convey your plot and move your plot forward very quickly.
Right.
I thought.
Yes. Well, that was also trying to kind of accelerate things a little bit. But one of the reasons I made the decision, because I was sort of hemming and hawing about whether or not to make this detour you guys took to destroy the sword here rather than take it where you're supposed to take it.
Yeah.
I was kind of hemming and hawing about whether or not I was going to make you guys deal with that repercussion.
Yeah.
Because there was a PC sacrifice involved in it. So that kind of made me think, no, I'll let it lie where it is. But then I had a good sort of plot device if I kept that in, because one of the dreams someone had was that a Oni, which is a Japanese demon, got summoned and was hunting the people who are looking for the swords. So you know that there's something out there looking for you. And that place gave me basically a confluence of plot arcs. This thing is looking for you. It also might want to free the creature inside the sword that is buried underneath this temple.
Okay, so it turns out that the creature wasn't destroyed; it's just buried, which we didn't know.
Well, one of the someone had a dream.
I did.
You had the dream of that, right?
Yeah.
So, and that also provided you guys a chance we finally have a combat, but you would be able to kind of get a glimpse of what you're up against as far as the Onis are concerned, and also see that there was a repercussion of what happened. And I was kind of worried about whether I was being too much of a hard ass about that.
I really love the foreshadowing. I love the tension you built. Because you had this Oni come around and circle. You had foreshadowed it. We, the players, sort of worked it out. I think Dave was like, "Well, if there's an Oni in the bottom of this thing shouting out, won't the other Oni come to find it?" And we're all like,
Jim said that. Yeah,
perhaps.
Jim came up with that.
And anyway, everything snowballed from there. And how much of that you planned, I don't know. But it was because it did ratchet up the tension, and we had to have a discussion, and then we ended up going, and we ended up making certain concessions. But it was a definite. You foreshadowed it, but it didn't ruin it. What it made us do was go, oh shit, this is much more serious than we thought. And I think sometimes as a GM, you just want to pounce on your players and surprise them. But by foreshadowing and by letting us know what we're up against, I think it made it even scarier and probably even harder than you would have had if we just, surprised us.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because we ended up discussing amongst ourselves and maybe hobbled ourselves or handicapped ourselves.
Right, but even though it wasn't a surprise, like, he made us backtrack in our overall storyline.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it hasn't happened yet, but it's about to happen. It's happening now.
Right, we're in the midst of it.
Right.
Yeah,
and that's boring. That's a boring thing usually.
Depends. Like, I mean, there's a lot of times. Actually, someone, I don't know who it was on Twitter, actually was having this conversation with a couple of us about, how do you feel about backtracking? And their specific
was in a dungeon.
Was a dungeon. Like, if you have a key in a chest and they need that key later on, like, is it an asshole move to make them go all the way back through the dungeon rooms they've already cleared to go get the key if they even remember that it's there to get through that door? So I think there's I think there's a big difference between those two scenarios. Because, yes, I am on the camp. If you make your players go all the way back through all those doors to find that one key, that's sort of an asshole move.
Well, it also depends
You've cleared all the rooms. Yeah.
It also, it depends how tedious that backtracking is.
Yeah.
If it's literally saying, okay, I'm going to go back to room 1 and I'm going to go open the chest and take the key. Okay.
That's not a big deal.
And then you come back. It takes you
Yeah.
25 minutes.
Right.
Right.
But if they even know that's what they missed,
Right.
like that's when it's like, well, there's something you missed.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm smarter than you are.
But I do occasionally like backtracking when there's been enough of like a power creep across the party that you go back through and it just feels incredible and you're like, look at all these things that we didn't have enough like stuff to throw at. And I'm just gonna like fireball my way through.
Yeah.
Fuck it. That took like 3 minutes. And
It's so much more satisfying, isn't
it?
it?
It is.
You like to go revisit it. We do this on online sometimes. Like you go to a WoW thing that like you kicked your ass the first time you did it, and you come back later and go, this is baby
that shit all the
stuff.
time.
It's so and it's so
Fucking Lich King.
so
Right?
satisfying.
Face,
I used to play EverQuest, and when you were running through Karana, there was this dark elf that would come out and just kill you.
Yeah.
If you took the wrong road or you're too close, if you get near his aggro zone, he'd come out and kill you. And I took great joy at higher levels. Every time I ran through there, just to kill that fucker.
Yeah.
Because he killed me so many. Fuck that guy. And that brownie.
The brownie.
Fuck
Yeah.
the brownie. Every time I walked in,
he killed me 3 or 4 times before I even saw him.
right, because he would lightning bolt you to death. Yeah, it was terrible. So yes, I get that feeling, and it's so satisfying. Petty, perhaps.
Yeah. But petty
Vindictive,
feels good.
yes. But
I like though that, and I think the biggest difference for me with your scenario is it was based on our choices.
Yes.
So it wasn't like there was like trick. Like there's a key hidden in that one shoebox in the corner of room 2. That
right.
the one thing
You guys
blew.
didn't get it.
Yeah. It was like we had that choice in the beginning. Like our Damio gave us very specific instructions to bring the sword back. We chose not to do that. You know, for very good reasons. I think it was a wise decision. Whatever. But yeah, there should definitely be repercussions for character choices, I think.
Right.
And that's what that was. And it wasn't like I feel I probably would have felt a little different about it if it hadn't been like on our way. Like we were already on our way to Lionlands anyway.
Right.
Which kind of was like we were getting the visions because we were like heading towards that area. It's kind of at least my interpretation. Maybe that was just for shit, but so the fact that it wasn't like a bunch of time, like it's not like we had to stop what we're doing, backtrack, and go a whole different place in the world.
It was literally on the way.
Yeah, it was literally on the way. It took us a few extra days because we wanted to be super careful about it, but we also could have made different decisions there too. So I think that was a convenient way to have us backtrack, which made it less annoying.
I don't even mind backtracking because I thought you made it dramatic enough and interesting enough.
The backtracking really literally hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Yeah.
That's going to get hand waved at the beginning of the next session.
So that's an important point too there, right there, which is let's not make it tedious for the players. We've already done this. It's all good. We all know what's going on. So
Did you just say let's not make it titty for the players?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
That's what it sounded like.
Yeah. Why would I say that?
Tedious.
Tedious.
Oh,
Tedious.
tedious. Okay.
Tedious, yes.
He said it like a Canadian.
He's still in the duck
Did
place.
they say that word differently?
That was his
I'm
duck
helping.
voice. It sounds Canadian.
Yeah, vaguely Canadian. It's how ducks talk about either boring things or titties.
Yeah.
Right. I'm sorry, go ahead. You forgot what you were going to say.
You said titties, and I've completely lost my train of thought. Because everybody loves titties. They're amazing. They're awesome. Everybody loves them.
Yeah.
I like them.
Yep, not helping. Not helping. I thought I had something interesting to say. I
You were
usually
talking about,
don't. No,
the
it's all
hand
right.
waving.
No, you did. I spoiled it.
Well,
That's
and,
okay.
and finding a way to not make it boring for the players. It's not like
That was it.
You're not going to spend a bunch of time at the table, like making him go back through every room, searching every room. Roll for perception in this room. Oh,
Yeah.
you rolled badly. Maybe something in this room. Maybe it's not. You're going to have to try again. Somebody else try and roll it.
And I was going to say, I thought you brought back a previous episode and harkened back to it just enough. I thought you foreshadowed with and gave us a couple of clues with the dreams, and also just giving us some time. It's like we're still a day away. There's time to talk about it,
Right.
and you let that simmer. Mm-hmm. You didn't say anything. You sat back and watched, and we talked because my character didn't know what happened. Jim's character doesn't know what happened. So there was this like, so why are you guys all stressed out? What's going on? And then there was information that passed back and forth, and it got really interesting. It sort of simmered, and then I think we amped the tension up amongst ourselves about what it is we're going to do, how we're going to solve, how we're going to deal with this, and it got really interesting because you just dropped that little kernel. Like, you're going to have to go by here again now, aren't you? That ground zero for bad mojo, and we're all like, and we're worst enemies. That was, I think, a really nice GM thing. You were able to just lay that out. Here's a little moment, and in many great stories, fantasy stories I read, that happens all the time. Characters go away, and then they come back and pass by the house that their parents died in, or that he escaped from, and then there's stuff that happens from that. You did that in the game. You don't often get that opportunity as a GM as well. It's a neat tool to have in your tool chest, and sometimes you force it in. But it's how cool is it to just have us like, you know what? You're on the way. Bing. This is going to happen.
Right.
Well, and it gave me the opportunity to be incredibly badass, which I always appreciate.
Right.
Hey.
And it take an enormous amount of damage.
Yeah, no, I was like pretty much like the wall
Almost
to myself. Dead. Oh yeah, but I just like boom. All right, I'm fine. Boom. Okay, I'm fine. I'm cool. I'm fine. Boom.
So
but
cool.
And I also got to remember how to do combat in 40 because I didn't remember shit. I thought I totally would remember. Didn't remember it.
No.
I was like, math? What?
We never really had that many combats in the previous games that we played.
Right. Well, and I was a Shugenja in the first one, so it was more like do the thing.
Stances with the stance.
Yeah, I never had to really worry about damage. I think I got hit once in that entire first campaign ever. And
That's
this time,
bonkers.
I'm literally like the tank. I'm like, okay, everything is fine. I'm the crabby punching bag. It's fine. I'm bleeding. It's cool. Don't worry about it.
It's a flesh wound.
Yeah. Yeah, I took so much fucking damage.
And that's something as a GM when you're running a campaign, even a short campaign, is if you can harken back to that stuff that's earlier and having them revisited, it's really kind of cool.
Yeah.
I don't think that GMs get that opportunity very often. And I would be careful about creating them, but they're a wonderful moment when they happen organically, like you managed to make it work. Right. It was neat. It's going to be neat.
I think it's also important because there's it has to have a real reason for it.
Yes.
And with these swords, there is a real reason because you have set the precedent up that they can only be taken care of and destroyed in a certain way.
Right.
And that first time we broke those rules. We didn't do it that way. Mm-hmm. And so if you had just kind of been like, oh no, it's fine, like that opens the rest of it to interpretation as well. So we're then going to try our characters are going to try a bunch of different ways to destroy the swords maybe. And some of them might not be successful. So I think it was also like an important repercussion for us to deal with that these have to be taken care of a certain way.
Right.
If Elric ever tried to destroy Stormbringer, can you imagine? Or Mornglum, his cousin who had the other blade. They were brothers. They were demon brothers that are now basically blades.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
A similar scenario would happen, which is you might be able to destroy the blade, but that guy's now pissed. He doesn't have a home anymore. He's like Genie. You've gotten rid of the lamp, and now he's like, I'm living in a lump of coal, and I'm pissed. Didn't get rid of me. You just destroyed my house.
Right.
And now I'm pissed.
Yeah.
Before I was annoyed.
But if you're gonna have the players spend, because we spent a lot of the session on that.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna have that time, devoted to it in like actual real world playtime. Like, make sure it's worth it. Like, there has to be, like, not just to make it more difficult, but also there has to be a lore or a meaningful reason why the players are doing that and spending that time.
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I thought that was a good point for the confluence of those two arcs. Mm-hmm. A, the repercussion of not doing what you're told, and B, the fact that there's a Oni out looking for you, and it happens to. It makes sense that it would show up there to try to dig its brother up, and then kick the shit out of you guys while it happened to be there.
Yeah.
So there was a couple plot reasons to have it happen. Mm-hmm. So I was okay. I was okay with it.
Yeah.
The only part, and we're going to hand wave it anyway, except there's a little bit of information. Who I don't remember who went back.
Stork's character.
Stork's character. Okay. Stork's character is going to have some information when he comes back.
Yeah.
So there is, even with that backtracking, there's a little bit of a plot advancement.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I feel like there's a lot. I think that's an important point too. There has to be plot advancement with the repercussions and the backtracking.
Yeah, it can't just be the vindictive DM. I was that guy when I was 15.
Yeah.
It can't just be because it's fun to antagonize your players. It actually
you guys
has to
made a
move the story forward.
mistake. You're going to have to live with your mistake.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And there's a lot of GMs that still do that.
True.
Sure.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, at this point now, I know we're harping on this particular example, but this is kind of what inspired the conversation. But we now have faced one of the Oni, so we kind of have a better idea of their power set. We've at least temporarily defeated it, so it's going to take a little while for it to manifest again. We know that the other sword is still posing a threat, so it can be taken care of properly without it like biting us in the butt. And whatever information he comes back with.
And you did this all in one elegant little session.
Yeah.
Right.
So though we backtracked, though it felt like, and our characters probably are feeling some frustration, like we should have just done it right the first time.
Well, just the two of you.
Well, the two of us. There's also like a lot of progression, and as a player, I was not frustrated at all by it because all that cool stuff happened. We got a bunch of information. We had a cool combat. Like it was a very active, interesting backtrack.
And in the realm of the laws of Bushido, shame and regret are interesting things to deal with when you're bound by these tight laws and rules.
It's a lesson. It might even be an honor hit.
Bum bum bum. Tune in next week to find out what happens.
It could be.
Yeah.
That it wasn't taken care of. That's true. It's an interesting.
Yeah. Sorry, I made.
No, it's okay. It's just like an interesting thought because it's like, all right, so because for Dave, 100%, like 100% honor hit, like total honor.
Dave
hit.
deserves no honor.
No, he deserves zero honor. But it's like, okay, if like, because we destroyed the sword in the midst of a combat. Like when it started acting out against us, it's not like we were like, "Oh, we'll be late. We'll just take care of it here. We don't need to carry it back."
That's true.
Yeah, it wasn't like lazy.
But you guys broke the because my character isn't part of it anymore.
Yeah.
You guys did break the rules. You didn't follow the rules of the daimyo said it for you. So, ding honor. Yeah. I don't know. It's an interesting thing.
I don't have a bunch of honor anyway, so. I'm working on it.
Poor Bria's like, I have no idea what this game is.
I'm like, this is fun to just listen to.
Sorry.
I don't have to, I don't have to talk all the time. But
you should because you're funny and clever.
Oh,
we don't mean to isolate
I'll get my shit in later. This is good.
Do you want to read the first email?
Sure.
Okay.
Cool.
Stakes in combat from Joe in the IE.
Stakes.
Nice.
And IE stands for the Inland Empire.
It does.
For those who are not from California.
It's a hot part of Cali.
It's not Internet Explorer.
No.
Almost as useful.
It's thing you've ever
worse
said.
than Internet Explorer.
More backwards than Internet Explorer.
No, I feel like it's equally.
Depends on which part of the IE you're from.
Oh, that's right.
Your part, Riverside.
Riverside's like the best part of the Inland Empire.
There's bad parts of the Inland Empire.
Yeah.
I know there's bad parts of the Inland Empire.
Riverside's like, that's the one you hear about the most because of me.
Riverside's like the buffer before you hit like the wilderness.
Which is the meth capital one?
Bakersfield.
Well,
or there's the rest of San Bernardino.
No, San Bernardino. It was Riverside for a while, but then we lost. Yeah, we lost that title to San Bernardino.
Damn San Bernardino! Stealing everything from you.
So every once in a while, you'd hear a house blow up. You're like, oh, what's the thing?
It happens.
Yeah.
Amazing. Okay.
Let's go ahead.
Hi, crew. Recently, you guys talked about stakes aside from death in combat.
Mm-hmm.
I think you beat around the bush a little. You are absolutely right that the threat of bodily harm up to and including death is important in armed physical combat. What's more important, I think, is that combat is a means, not an end. Usually. It should be. When your crab challenges a mantis to a duel, it's not because she wants to fight a mantis. It's because that physical combat is accepted as honorable resolution, and the crab needs an issue resolved honorably.
Yes.
I like that before I knew anything about L5R, I would have been like, what the fuck is this sentence, though? I did not know that they were natural enemies. I have to watch more Planet Earth. Yeah. Good to know. So thank you. You learned me something.
That's an amazing visual of like this praying mantis and like this little crab.
Right? Crab from the side. Mantis from the top.
Yeah.
Side versus top.
Yeah.
It's a good fight. I will watch it. Just like, I'm into that. And that's what I'm imagining that your character's doing. Every other Sunday.
Yeah. This is exactly what
I do. Hey. Just trying to pop bubbles a lot.
Hey.
I can't do it.
Unless it's a bit shrimp.
Ooh, fuck those.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
You have to say it all like
nightmares. Okay. Unless it's a mantis shrimp, she said in Stork's voice.
Can you angle your microphone a little bit more towards your mouth?
No!
I don't know. Talk again?
I don't want to talk. Oh, God, the little fluffy part came off.
You don't need the fluffy part.
I do. There we go. How's that? Any better?
That's a little better.
We are professionals.
Go ahead.
I can't do Mike anything forever. It's a nightmare.
It's good.
Okay, so when your murder hobos are fighting the goblins in the dungeon, it shouldn't be because you need to fight in this area to round up the experience total.
Right.
That's boring.
Yes.
It should be because the goblins want the nearby ogre to eat something besides goblin for dinner this week, and the hobos want the 4th key of Methuselah hanging from the goblin shaman's totem staff.
I love that key.
Right? Is that a real thing?
It was a Tappy reference years ago, the 7 keys of Entuzler.
Yeah.
And he would harp on it. I think it might actually have been in a game. Tappy could probably verify it later, but the 7 keys of Entuzler just become our like World of Warcraft. You have an exclamation point. You click on it, go find a thing, you bring it to them, and they
Fetch
give you something,
quest.
and you go find another. Yeah, it's a fetch quest.
Every Legend of Zelda game.
Exactly.
And
Go find the 7 bits of this Triforce.
Yeah, and this guy is like psychic and predicted we'd be making meth jokes, so he's changed it to
Right.
Methuselah.
Methuselah.
Yeah, like amazing.
That's because the dungeon is in Riverside. Perfect.
Yeah.
Interesting stakes come from compelling goals because compelling goals lead to interesting decisions.
Yeah.
Before that goblin fight breaks out, the party has a choice. We could fight, which might lead to bodily harm. We could try to talk it out, but can we really trust them? We could try to steal the key, but is anyone sneaky enough? The bodily harm and threat of death, so vital to armed combat, is a potential downside that makes the choice meaningful. So are the risks of being double-crossed and the risk of getting caught sneaking through a goblin camp. So the risk of bodily harm is necessary but not sufficient. The party needs a clearly defined goal, and the potential combatant needs to be in the way of their achieving that goal. Ideally, combat should be a possible solution and not a foregone conclusion. Thanks, and as always, for all you do. Abria, specifically. I don't know why he was to me, but
That's
you're
so,
welcome.
yeah, so already.
So funny.
Totally single.
Weird, right?
I know, right?
You're welcome, Joe. From the IE.
Astonishing that he knew you were going to be here
Yay,
reading
from
his
the
email.
IE.
Yeah. Sweet yeoman Columbus on the
909
forum.
representing, or 951 possibly.
Hold on. P.S.
Go again.
Sorry, I just did that.
Okay.
I've always had a problem with that. In fact, I remember Bill. We were talking about
Never heard of him.
some guy. He used to be around here. He moved.
Mm-hmm.
We were talking about it was a video game, but I think it might have been Deus Machina or Deus Ex, and we were frustrated. We talked about it. It was like, is there a way to do this game where you don't actually have to kill everything? Is there, because it gave you all these branches and all these choices and all these options. Is there a way to do it? And it turns out there isn't. But how interesting would it be if you can just do a game without having to kill anything? Not that you wouldn't, but you can try that. Now, you extrapolate to role-playing games. Why do you have to kill everything all the time? Mm-hmm. It isn't. It's
Spoiler.
a concept that many people don't appreciate or like.
Spoiler, you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of games done quick that's like
Turns out.
pacifist run.
Yeah. I think this is a super important point, and I don't quite remember this particular conversation. I don't know if I think I missed
I was
it.
here for this one.
Oh, yeah, I got it. Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think you were.
But yeah, I mean, that's 100%. The motivation should never be, oh, we need experience.
No.
Let's have a combat.
Unless you're playing D&D.
Yeah. But even then, it's...
It's changed a bit, I guess.
Yeah, well, and it depends
Right.
on your... you can totally play D&D not like that. So it's not even system-specific.
I can see, and I would think it would be legitimate for a GM to say, yeah, not this session, but next session they're going to go up against this green dragon, and they really kind of need to be 5th level to do that, so I'm going to throw in an extra fight in the previous session. I can totally see a GM do that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
No, but it's not... Like that is... a story-driven decision. That's not necessarily...
Well, it's a metagame.
It is,
driven
but as a
No,
GM, you metagame everything.
Yeah.
You have to kind of have that story arc and the math behind that story arc involved,
Right.
together. So that doesn't bother me as much. But I think you nail it on the head. Is it is a means, not an end. You have to have the motivation can't just be
Certainly.
kill things.
Yeah.
Combats, I think, are going to have more drama to them, and they're going to be more interesting if there's something at stake besides the fact that you might die.
Right. Like the heroes, the biggest thing about fighting the dragon that's attacking the town isn't that you might die. It's like, if you fail to kill this dragon, it's going to continue to kill innocents.
Right.
Like that's
it's going to destroy the town.
Yeah, it's like
it's going to burn it to the ground and
your
kill everyone.
Failure, the biggest thing of your failure should not be you dying. It should be whatever the next awful thing is. which would also be
like rolling your to hit with your the one black arrow that was handed down through the family, and you miss the dragon,
right?
And then it destroys the town, and it's on poor old Bard because Stork was playing him.
Yeah. That's why you shouldn't play books. You shouldn't ever do something that's been pre-written because you're never going to actually pull it up.
Nope.
No. Especially you.
And Stork. Well, it might take you a week to go find that arrow if you want to try again.
I think at the end of the day, a lot of this problem just comes up with from the fact that maybe older D&D was just the way for people to get their battle junkie rocks off.
Right.
And then dice became, which is totally fine. It's valid.
Hold on 1 second. I can remember, it's a tickling conversation. I'll keep it quick. I can remember counting every kobold and every goblin, how much XP we got, because once we got enough, we leveled and then we got new stuff. So yes, we literally counted every kill to get XP back in the day.
So
I stepped on an ant. That's a quarter of an experience.
Right? No, it got to be that bad sometimes.
So it's institutional memory for the reason you do anything in a role play game. It's the whole line it's the whole line that when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Right.
We've now learned that with dice, when you have some D20s, everything looks like a thing you need to kill. So, I mean, these are all super, I really like what Joe said about, finding compelling choices. Mm-hmm. And I think that choice is always there no matter the game you play. Unless you're playing, whatever weird video game you're playing that, won't let you not kill things. There's always a way to go about it. I think it's about having a group of players at a table that are smart enough to know how to approach situations like human beings and not murder goblins. murder hobos.
And we're lucky because we surround ourselves with creative, interesting people, but there's a lot of people out there that still play a game that's just about killing stuff and gaining stuff. And we can't, and if that's fun, if that's their fun, I'm not going to fun shame them.
Yeah.
Or
your fun is wrong!
Them, but there's so many more options.
Yeah.
There's so many more things you can do.
That's because we're...
If you just do missionary every day, it's every week, once a week, for 20 minutes, you're bored. There's so many more other options out there.
I feel attacked.
I like near the end of his email, where he's talking about the different options, whether it's talking to people, whether it's sneaking around, all that stuff. The thing we were talking about with the big consequence, not death, but the town being destroyed or whatever, all those consequences, that consequence is still there regardless of which, adventure path the party chooses.
Sure.
Regardless, if they're successful in one of these paths, great. It doesn't really matter which one, but if they fail, then there's still that same consequence, which is why it matters. That makes it matter. Mm-hmm. Sorry, I ran in your little...
Nah.
No, you're good. It was a good diversion. Back to the point.
One off, yeah.
All right. Here goes. I would break this up into
Everybody got beer here. I got another beer for you, just in case you need it. Here
the diverse mutterings of a long-time listener and a tale of unintended consequences from Kai Kraku. Go ahead. Do whatever wants to do it.
Do a voice. Do a voice.
Do the voice.
Kai Jolly Steins, a drunken guy.
What the fuck were those first two words?
Kai
Cool. I read that as Rita Ora 18 times. Going through this.
I
know, but that's...
This story, as a quick note, a comment has grown into a monolithic treaty of jib-like proportions, so changed as vessels. I'd like to take
please stop reading it like that.
All right. I'd like you to take a drink.
Okay.
But it seems insulting to instruct such well-seasoned beer chuggers and wine gugglers, glugglers. I'm going to go with glugglers. Gluggers on when to drink. You know when the right time is to quaff a beverage, and like your characters, know the right time to start checking back healing potions, and when they are stuck in a blind canyon with 2,000 kobolds and use their arses as pin cushions.
That's a lot of XP.
How I love it. When they chase the kobolds. Warning, a 1/2 hit dice creature is not going to live long without being sneaky and vicious as a weasel on a downer looking at to score some heroin. So don't fuck with them. Yeah, they are. They're desperate, angry little creatures.
Kia ora is Maori for hello.
Okay. Cool.
Nice.
I've listened with interest and joy to the hundreds and hours of podcasts and actual plays that you have produced for our pleasure.
Thank you.
Previously conquered your backlog, which was much easier when there were only 5 seasons.
Oh.
It would
I'll
be.
lament the sanity of those who try it now. Happy Jacks has given me a welcome way to be able to step out of my life for a short or not so short while each week. It's been particularly needed over the past year when 3 members of my close family got sick and died of cancer. Fuck cancer.
Yeah,
Fuck
fuck
cancer.
cancer.
All
Fuck
in
cancer.
caps right there.
Yeah.
Yep. You know what? Fuck cancer.
Fuck cancer. Raise a glass to that shit.
It's affected my family too.
Same.
I know you folks do it for your own enjoyment, and I really... It's got all serious now.
Yeah.
Enjoyment, and it
good
really
email,
does have a positive real-life effect on us listeners, and it goes way beyond good RPG advice. A stable-ish piece of fun is so unbelievably powerful when the rest of your world is spinning into chaos. So a huge thank you to you all.
You're very welcome, and thank you.
Wow,
Well,
I
thank you.
don't even know how to respond to that except to raise a toast and drink, because that's what we Anglo-Saxons do when things get awkward. The feels we must drink more.
We do that thing. I just want to feel like part of it.
Water doesn't work. The evolution of the show as new guests, players, GMs, and friends have been added to the roster, have added their perspectives on how to play this great hobby, and has been a defining feature. I don't think the podcast would have been able to remain as popular as it is without them.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All praise is for me and me alone.
That
And
is.
a huge welcome back to Tappy from the waste of internet-free exile. Shudder. After listening to you and Sam on the one-shot the other week, I think Kimmy should keep you two well apart. Too much of you two playing off each other could possibly disrupt the time-space continuum.
Yeah.
Was that Sam or was that Mac? Was it Sam?
It might be Mac.
I think you might be confusing Mac and Sam. They both have red hair and they're both
Hold on.
No,
very
Mac is
creative.
green.
Tappy ran one shot with me and Sam in it.
Oh, maybe.
Oh,
So maybe that too.
That
I
was
don't know.
All right.
I'm with
So
you.
many possibilities.
What follows are eclectic ramblings of someone who has listened to Happy Jacks for far longer than is good for their mental health.
You're
As a
telling
reward,
me.
I will cleanse your palate at the end of the tale of unintended consequences.
All right.
Like a cool glass of water after a really bad Shiraz.
Shiraz.
Do you not drink wine?
It's a variety of wine.
Your beer love is showing.
Yes.
It is the corpsiest of all. If Shiraz is what I'm thinking of, it's the one that tastes like a grave.
What?
Point the first!
That's what I'm thinking of.
I mean, maybe. What? Is that why I like
That's a
it?
very odd description for any
Yeah.
beverage, actually.
Point the first. I
tastes
don't
like
even
dirt.
want to know. Like, do you have anything to compare it with?
It
No,
tastes like
never
dirt.
mind. Let's not go there. As a side note,
know
there's,
what? Yeah.
there's actually people that want to suck that red liquid out of that grave. They pulled up.
I didn't sign that
Did you
change
hear about that?
petition.
Did you hear about that
Oh,
weird
yeah.
obelisk thing?
I didn't sign it.
They found this. They found this like
The black sarcophagus
Yes.
in Egypt that
Yeah.
was going to ruin the world.
yeah. People are actually wanting to drink the red goo that came out of it, which is like
How else will I
1,000 years.
restore my powers?
I don't know what the
Why is there red
signed
goo in
it.
it?
game.
I signed it.
It's a game.
Decomposing bodies mixed with water.
And clay.
But
It's just
those are
juicy down
thousands of
there.
years old. They should be dried out by now.
Well, no.
Yeah, that's why you want to drink it, because it's got some powers.
And basically, it's buried in a sewer.
Yeah,
'Cause
it's
the
gross. Yeah.
modern effluent has been running across it for thousands of years.
Oh, well, it's probably just
Magical.
What could possibly go wrong drinking that? No, it'll be fine.
Like, if there was someone cool in that sarcophagus,
How else
I'd be
am
like,
I-
drink the stuff.
Yeah, how else am I going to claim my Egyptian death goddess powers?
Thank you.
This is the plan.
You have to drink the juice.
Yeah. The day they opened it was actually my surgery, and I had a plan with Sam that if I didn't wake up from my anesthesia, and that I was going to become the Egyptian death goddess, like when she needed a body when they opened it,
Oh,
like that was going to
perfect.
be me.
I'm
That was my
pretty
plan.
sure if
I
you
like
drink
that.
1,000-year-old sewage, you'll meet the death goddess quicker than you
No,
probably
yeah, I wasn't
wanted to
actually.
know.
I wasn't interested in drinking. I was just like, if she needed a vessel and I happened to be knocked out at that
That seems
time,
fine.
I was going to volunteer.
I volunteer. You're just like cat.
I volunteer tribute. I will be death goddess. Okay.
Okay, point the first.
Sorry, good.
Raise Darby. New Zealanders do not speak like Australians.
Don't.
Noted.
Or Raise Darby.
I don't know.
I don't even know who that
Rice
is.
Darby
either.
is.
Thanks,
Fuck that guy, I guess.
Thanks B to Maui and his giant hook that we don't talk like Raise Darby. The most common New Zealand accent is generally more like Brett McKenzie from Flight of the Conchords. Gunny in The Expanse is another typical New Zealand accent. Point the second, podcast.
I don't know who this guy is, but he's all over the internet.
Side note: How are
Rice
we,
Montague Darby.
how are we not mentioning Taika Waititi?
Yeah.
Right?
He's got a good accent.
And you even
Yeah.
got the name right.
Yeah, I like it.
I would say Tico, but it's Tycho.
Be friends with me, Taika.
Yeah. Point the second, podcast. The change from podcast to streaming has kept Happy Jacks current and increased the diversity of supporters. However, it has done so at the expense of loyal audio listeners. Over the years, those members of Happy Jacks who have role-played on audio only media have developed methods of painting a picture with words that makes the experience immersive. When listening to the streaming sessions, the level of description sometimes misses that depth. Try listening to The Goon Show and then compare that to Mr. Bean. A well-told story listened to will always be much more immersive than a video of people telling a story. Because the removal of our primary sense vision makes us engage our brain to create the visualizations relevant to the story. If sight is included, it will always intrude to some degree in the visualization. Human brains are hardwired that way, and that is one reason why actual plays, like radio shows, remain relevant in an age of high-definition visual technology. Also, if you compare the pure audio cast to the streaming APs, you will notice that the players describe other sensory inputs like smell and feel more often than they were when they were focused on the audio-only media.
Interesting.
I didn't think about that. That's a very fair point.
And I didn't notice we were doing that.
I looked up The Goon Show was a radio program.
I remember The Goon Show. The Goon Show was very influential on Monty Python.
Oh, was it really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So did
Spike Mulligan.
From 1951 to 1960.
Spike Mulligan and Peter Cook.
Okay.
You just had that ready to go.
No, it's The Goon Show. It was.
I'm proud of you.
It was the pre-generative of Monty Python. Everything that Monty Python did was because of The Goon Show.
Nice.
When you're a Monty Python fan,
cool.
you know this stuff. On a tangent, I think members of The Goon Show would have really appreciated your actual plays. They would get smashed on port while they wrote their scripts, and then when they were recording, they would improvise whenever they thought they could make another member of the cast spit take or be left gobsmacked.
Oh, that's awesome.
And can I say that gobsmacked is one of my favorite terms from across the pond?
I thought you were going to say
Good
flavor
word.
of jelly.
A flavor of jelly gobsmacked. Because with a name like that, it must be good jelly.
Tag team. Ready?
Yeah.
Oh,
You're going to pass it off.
Well, yeah.
All right. Point in the third. I figure since it's 11 pages, we can cycle the table a couple times.
And you got tired of me
Oh yeah, this
I
blew
liked
Jib's
it.
record out of the water.
Okay.
Jim, do you hear that?
Oh,
I'm out of
no.
retirement.
You better get ready because you're going to have to do it too.
Point the third. Learning from others. Perish the thought, but I am in wholehearted agreement with Stork.
Yay!
The hell you say?
A GM should take all opportunities possible to see how other GMs run a game.
Yes, all right. Yes, thank
Yes,
you.
that's true.
Good point.
However, for many of us who live in the gaming wildernesses of the world, cons or even organized play just aren't available. So listening to APs is one of the best ways that we get the opportunity to compare and contrast.
Fair point.
Very nice.
Yes.
I also like that you know that comparing and contrasting are two different things. That makes me happy. All right. Point in the fourth. Note passing, slack, etc. Secrets are not secrets if they are known by everyone, and it doesn't matter how good a role player person is, it is impossible for someone not to be biased to some degree by the knowledge they've been given.
I agree.
The thing that our brain doesn't...
I can't unhear that now.
The thing that our brain does best is join pieces of information together to make patterns and intuitive leaps.
Pareidolia. It's called pareidolia, and you're absolutely right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
That was very loud.
Yeah, he was.
The thing that our brain does best... Oh, sorry, I just said that. Make intuitive leaps, and it will still make those leaps even when you try to give it a jolly good telling off about that sort of thing. There will always be bias, intentional or not. With the advent of tools such as Slack, Discord, Fantasy Grounds, etc., note passing can be done simply without taking the focus away from role playing, and that is happening. That the role playing that is happening on the table. I do agree that you have to pick your moments to review notes that haven't been sent through. I generally find my gaming group gets into disagreements, arguments, and discussions on what to do next so often that there's ample opportunity to read short notes, and sometimes novels like War and Peace, while waiting for them to decide what to do next. Sounds like us.
Nice.
I'd like to insert one little thing here, which is like when we're doing this live here, sometimes we feel obligated to let people know what the secrets are, just because you guys need to know.
Yeah.
In a normal situation, I think, and this is this is a whole total Schrodinger's cat or an Eisenberg principle where we're observing us affects the gameplay. It doesn't always, but in this case, it kind of does because I want to let you know what it is we got,
Yeah.
so that you guys are informed on the overall situation. But in the normal group, if we weren't being watched, those secrets would be taken to our grave.
Yeah.
And only at the end of the game, people are like, Stu sent me this Slack, and this is what it said. Oh, my God, yeah.
Well, that, like in the last session, when all you guys had dreams, I want to keep the listeners and the viewers in on everything.
Yeah.
So that everyone leave except one person. They
Nice.
read their dreams, so the audience is basically seeing the omnipotent picture of the whole thing.
Right.
And it's kind of a special thing when it comes to APs. But it is, I can totally see, like in a normal gaming situation, you would have sent me that Slack, I would have gone, huh? And off we everything. Whether we chose to share it or not would have just been up to us.
Yeah.
Right.
I will also say there is something slightly different between like being slacked the text of your dream versus like clearing a room and having the ability to actually like live in that moment as your character.
Yeah.
Like
It is cool.
being given information versus being given an experience that's
Yeah.
private are actually two super like different things.
Absolutely,
And I like
yeah.
that you cleared the room. That's super cool. I love that. That's my shit.
Yeah.
And then you get to like have this moment where, especially if it's not, I don't know, I guess maybe it will work really well like while you're streaming too, but like I play, like the game I'm currently running is for younger kids, and these are teenage boys that don't like showing any kind of emotion around each other, but the moment you clear a room and let them like have
Not
a
just
moment.
teenage boys.
That's fair. That Y chromosome is just like, I have to keep all my feels in my body.
That's why this was invented.
Exactly, but the moment I can clear the room and say like, you're gonna have like, here's an emotional beat, and now here's a safe space to like actually explore it if you want to, or not. Depends.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's nice. So, sorry, just props to like also being willing to have secrets as a character versus just being given information.
Totally
Absolutely.
awesome counterpoint. You need to come on more often.
Nah, I don't like you guys. I'm usually in the chat on Friday, like,
Yeah. Point in the fifth: strength versus dexterity / reflexes / coordination, etc. Why is it that in so many systems that to swing a sword, axe, halberd, etc., it is based on strength, while to pull a bow is reflexes, dexterity, or whatever else they call it in the system? Oh, and the puny elven archer that's 50 kilograms, 110 pounds,
I like the fact that he gave us the conversion.
Yes.
That's
Thanks for
so
the
thank you for that.
information.
wringing wet, can fire their longbow for 250 meters, 270 yards.
Bless you.
Thank you so much.
My son and I do field archery. He's 14 and fires a 25-pound bow. He's accurate up to about 30 meters. After that, he needs to account for so much drop that his accuracy falls away. I fire a 70-pound bow,
Nice.
which is one of the highest draw weights in our club.
Now you're bragging.
Because I am that much stronger, my arrows go on a flat trajectory for much farther, and so I expect to do a heart or lung shot most of the time out about 80 meters. English and Welsh yeomen at Agincourt were firing bows well over 100-pound draw weight. They had started training when they were approximately 6 years old and were so strong and had fired so many thousands of arrows that it caused scoliosis in their lower spine. It really wasn't a case of dexterity for them, but muscle memory.
As a side note, they've actually like found graves of some of those archers, and their draw hand,
Popeye arm.
yeah, and the muscles were almost atrophied. These guys could not put their arm down because they had spent so long. That's a 100-pound draw. That's your Kimmy's works out, right? And she
Really?
benches. She's benching. I'm gonna. What did you
145
you
right
just
now.
did
Yeah,
145,
butt
right?
plates.
That's with both.
Yeah.
These guys are pulling back
Yeah,
100 pounds with one arm.
Yeah.
That's
it's a lot.
That's astonishing.
Mm-hmm.
That's like lifting up a Japanese porn star with one hand. 2, 3. No, not funny. Okay.
It was very good.
I think it depends what kind of porn.
Okay. I tried, but that's a lot on one hand and with one draw and repetitive too. So they found these graves, and it's astonishing. Their shoulders are atrophied. Their muscles are they could clearly tell, and they were like definitely an archer.
Yeah.
It is.
Now,
It was a specialized thing. That's all they could do.
the one thing I've noticed is that archers get the most annoyed about role-playing games than anyone else. They do.
Yeah.
It's true.
No, you're
Yes.
accurate.
Yes. Poor Rangers.
And let me just say, in defense of at least one RPG, GURPS,
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
there is...
I'll do it for you.
You actually have your bow has a strength rating. They don't use draw weight, but you would buy a bow commensurate with whatever your strength is, and that will change what that bow is capable of.
And GURPS is much more simulationist than many of the fantasy games that we play, and it makes bows kick ass in GURPS as well. They should.
I mean, you can go down the rabbit hole of simulationism.
You certainly can.
On a lot of stuff.
Yes.
I mean, on guns, I look at like the stats for how much damage certain kinds of weapons do with certain kinds of ammo, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry.
And I always think that poor Rangers get the shaft. No pun intended.
I saw your brain going, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
You did it. Because of the Rangers.
Digging out the corn.
If you're playing a simulationist game that gives you the chance to aim and you get bonuses for it, it's like, so by the time the fighter goes, and the Ranger takes like 2 rounds, it goes, shaft in the eye, down he goes, and the fighter goes, yeah,
right.
And the Ranger, then it's the whole Legolas thing.
Unless it's D&D and there's no called shots and an arrow only does 1d6 damage, and you'll never kill anyone with it except.
And so what he's complaining about is
shade.
The archers have to be able to do one thing, and the people that swing swords have to be able to do another thing.
Yes, there's definitely game balance.
Yes,
reasons for why they do some of the things they do.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And oftentimes reality butts up right against that, and we hate it.
And if you don't know what the Battle of Agincourt is, you should do it. Go look it up. It's very cool.
I'll play the song. I think I have it on there. Play the song.
Our king went forth from Normandy. Grace and might and chivalry.
I think it's on here. Maybe
not my king.
Anyway,
keep going. Things also go very badly if you try to go full rock and roll with an AK-47 and you don't have the strength to deal with the recoil that one of those puts out. You will be more of a danger to your own side, and barn doors should feel safe. Very nice. On the other side of the equation, I've done a couple different martial arts, and as part of my training, I have wielded a number of weapons. I really like using axes. If you don't have good coordination when swinging 2 kilograms of razor sharp...
4.4 pounds.
Yes.
I can do the conversion, too.
Nice job.
Bam!
Of razor sharp metal at the end of a heavy wooden shaft, you are more likely to cut off your own leg than do any damage to an opponent, and your strikes are much more likely to glide off an enemy's armor and leave you open for repose. Yes, thank you. If you are relying on your strength. See, you're sitting next to me. I'm losing my reading abilities. Right? All right. I have never played Powered by the Apocalypse or other, quote, hippie games, but I certainly like the idea of abilities such as physical, mental, and social as opposed to strength, reflexes, intelligence, etc. that occur in more traditional games.
Well, that's not what you get with Powered by the Apocalypse games. Go ahead.
Well, it depends on which ones. Cool. Yeah, they are a little different than that. The idea that a character's ability to affect the world is based on multiple attributes working in concert just makes more sense. Ready, Stu?
No, you're right.
We're not going to talk about it.
Okay, go.
Are we going to talk about this? I want to talk about it.
Okay. Okay.
She read the first email.
Oh, I just want to say really quickly, in defense of the strength versus dexterity.
Yeah.
I don't think that they mean like strength in like exclusion for dexterity. Like it's just which one requires like a predominance of the other. And like, hey, you're in a ballistic weapon requires more dexterity to like put yourself in the right range to use it at like effectively.
Is this a dancers versus football players argument here?
Yeah, because any ballerina has more, like...
Fuck your shit up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think if a football player and a ballerina get into a fight, like, if the ballerina, I guess, could be a glass cannon. Yeah. I just don't think she can take a hit.
No.
Yeah. But when we're talking about, like...
Are you kidding me? As many painkillers those dancers are on?
Also football players?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Also.
Good point.
Right. And they got testosterone. Yeah, you're right.
It's just a matter of, like, if they were, like, who has better body control versus, like, ballistic strength versus, like, controllable strength. Like, we were talking about the scoliosis in archers. Like, that is super specialized strength.
Yeah.
So we'll call it dexterity because the thing you're actually using isn't this, like, the training since you were 6. It's the ability to overwhelm an opponent using, like, the dexterous side of your weapon, which is like get in the right place and like Legolas off of a bouncing hobbit in a river and then shoot from there.
I don't know this for sure, and I don't think anyone knows because no one was there, but I'm assuming they were doing a more trajectory sort of ballistic firing of the arrows rather than a straight.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but we're saying like an archer in a roleplay game.
Okay,
Isn't like,
yes,
I
absolutely.
play a game where me and 50 other people stand on a wall.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how we fight. But like if you're in the woods.
They're like snipers.
Exactly.
And I'm pretty sure that the archer that they were originally basing D&D off of was the sort of Robin Hood archer, which is shooting through trees on a run.
Exactly.
So you're dexterous. It's quick. It's moving. It's fast. It's shooting from the hip and shooting quickly.
And it does. I mean,
it's not a strength-based thing. It's about being agile and jogging and quick and seeing and decisive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's not
as
like
opposed to
archers in a slugger.
Yeah.
and going through the trees to
Right.
hit them.
Yeah.
And I get what they were going for, but
But no one thinks that archers aren't strong.
right.
Also, every modern archer, like, you picked archery because you wanted to be fiddly about the stuff that you know. So no bonus points for you.
but I mean, it is. There's what do they call it? The twitch reflex or whatever.
Yes.
There's a
Fast
certain
twitch
The
and
white
slow
muscle
twitch.
and
Right.
red muscle. Yeah.
And, I mean, in anything where you're firing something a long distance, that you have to take that into account, regardless of how strong you are. If you don't have the ability to the hand-eye coordination to be able to line that thing up and know how it's going to move in such a direction, that has nothing to do with your muscles.
That's why snipers. There's only a handful of snipers in the world because they have a certain ability to be able to do what it is they do. I'm not glorifying warfare or anything, but otherwise everybody could be a sniper. They have something.
Well,
that
some
isn't
of them,
strength.
some of them are also really good at math in their heads.
Yes.
Perhaps.
Because you had that Canadian guy who shot someone from 3 miles
Yeah.
away.
But they
They
also-
had to take the spinning of the
curvature,
Earth.
yeah.
But they also
that's
have like
insane.
these watcher guys that like the spotters that do
Right.
that stuff for them and help them. But still, why isn't the spotter shooting? The spotter isn't shooting because that guy is apparently better at it than something else, and it's not a strength thing. He's not running in with a sword.
That's also a gun.
He's got a twitch. My point being,
Bows are just
that's a
big
skill-
bullet guns. It's a gun.
Yes,
it's
but
a gun.
My point being that's a skill that isn't a strength skill.
I would contend
It's a thing.
if you want the most accurate sort of game mechanics for archery, the strength of the character firing it, assuming that you have a bow matched to the person's strength,
Yeah.
is going to affect the range that they're effective at and how much potential damage they can do.
Spoken like a true GURPS GM.
That's how I think you should
You're not wrong.
You should deal with it.
You're not wrong.
because it is a guy who's like super buff who's a good archer, and a guy who's like a 96-pound weakling who's a good archer. There's no way the two of them are going to deal the same amount of damage.
The Rock and I can both pull bows back, and the Rock is going to be able to pull back a 100-pound bow, and I'm going to be able to pull back a 20-pound bow.
Right.
And the Rock is going to be able to shoot through 5 hay bales, and I will barely hit one.
Right.
Right, but if you're an elf, elven bows are different. So, like, all of this
Magic.
doesn't mean anything. Because there's magic in the world.
And that's what it is. Like, you have to look at it as game balance. They're like, well, they're going to be more dexterous, like rangers, because they're going to have some sneaking skills.
Right.
So we probably should make the weapons that they're very likely to use to go with that character.
Exactly.
Like it's like that
Corona.
stereotypical like role stuff in traditional
I start when
RPGs.
I was working on the firearm rules for Moment of Truth. I took a reloading class, so I know way more about muzzle velocities and grain loads and all kinds of stuff
Than
that
you
have to
ever
do with
wanted.
rounds
You
that
have
I
a
ever
certificate.
really. I have a certificate
Yeah.
that I ever
Yeah.
really wanted to know.
What's your name?
It has my name on it and everything. but I had to stop myself because and you can actually still see a little bit of rules bloat in the firearms rules in Moment of Truth because of the fact that I wanted to convey some of the stuff that I thought mattered, but I probably went too far.
Yeah.
To be quite honest.
And here's what it really boils down to. Archery and range stuff is unbelievably powerful. It's turned the tides of battles across centuries, every battle. And in order to balance out the characters, you have to underpower your archers.
Well,
Or snipers.
I feel like you say that coming from like the likes to play rangers.
Yes
point of
and
view.
no.
Yeah.
Yes and no, because I could if you're running up to hit somebody, like say on a battle line, and I can get 5 arrows off and kill him, you don't have anything to do.
That's why you don't play a fighter.
Yeah. No, fighters.
Fireball wizard forever.
well,
Everything is D&D.
Tinky.
And we've done some GURPS games where the sniper takes a round, pauses,
that's a
fighters get
rifle.
prepared.
That's not a bow.
Still, even with a bow, I even did it.
No one's going to blow someone's head off with an arrow.
I shot a guy in the eyeball, and I got enough rolls in a moot game, and turned the tide of the game right then and there.
But you missed the dragon with your historical arrow from your grandfather's ancient people.
Oh no, buddy.
No, but well, that's the thing. That's what modifiers, and that's why the randomizers are so critical to these things. Is that even though I can do a called shot and I pause and I have all those bonuses, those randomizers, bastards that they are, come up snake eyes.
Let me just say that one of the reasons that archers are so effective on the battlefield is because there's 1,000 of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they don't actually have to be there. And by the time everybody else moves up, they can drop back and keep dropping them on you.
Yeah.
So they don't actually... It's an unbelievably powerful weapon. That's my point.
It's scary as fuck.
Yes.
Can you imagine? You're sitting on a battlefield. You've been pressed into service. You're some irregular guy on the field, and you've been given a stick that's sharp on one end. And all of a sudden, a fucking cloud of arrows is raining down upon you. Of course you're going to shit yourself.
Let's make
it run away.
Let's make it one-on-one. You know there's somebody in the forest, and you're going to actually... Or even in the bushes, and you're like, I know he's in there somewhere... And there's an arrow in your eyeball.
Okay,
Down
well,
you
you wouldn't even know it had happened.
Right. That's scary as fuck. You watch your buddy drop down.
Because you didn't know it happened.
Well, exactly. If you hear it wasn't for you.
But what I'm saying is the reason that bows are so effective in combat is because of the fact that there's a lot of archers.
All right. I'm going to say that bows are effective in combat because archers don't actually have to be in front of you to kill you. They can just drop you from. They can drop you from out of range. And you don't even know they're there.
Clearly,
speaking of
ranged weapons are better than melee weapons.
Speaking of bows, let's talk about shields now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Point 6! Shields! I'm taking it. This is mine now.
Do the thing.
Why do nearly all systems not recognize that to effectively use a shield requires skill and training just as much as dual wielding?
Let me just say, GURPS has a shield skill, and you need to have it to get it to use the shield.
You forgot to push up your glasses. There.
Wait, what system was that again?
GURPS.
Yeah!
In the hands of someone who knows what the fuck they're doing, serious damage can be done with several kilos of iron-bound lime wood. Has no one watched Vikings? I have! Yay! And to effectively defend with a shield so it either doesn't get cut into kindling or get your arm broken while also stopping the enemy weapon from hitting me also takes a lot of skill and practice.
There's that great scene in... It's an imperfect
movie,
but the
13th Warrior.
Where he goes through all those shields. It's an imperfect movie, but there's some amazing moments.
Nice.
Have you seen that movie?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm mentally adding it to my DVD queue.
Of the like 3 great Viking movies, it's one of them.
It's on Hulu right now. I watched it the other
perfect.
day.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. I think it's either Hulu or Netflix because I watched it while I was sewing.
And don't miss The Vikings with Ernest Borgnine.
Oh.
You can miss it, but it's up there with the 3 great Viking movies, yeah.
Sweet. I will watch it.
Make sure you watch Troll Hunter, too.
It's terrible. It's actually terrible.
Is it good?
Troll Hunter.
You haven't seen Troll Hunter?
Oh my god, keep reading.
Oh my god, you gotta see
Good
Troll
night,
Hunter.
everyone. I have to go home and watch a movie.
You're dead to me until you watch Troll
I'm
Hunter.
sorry.
Troll Hunter is
I
fantastic.
will fix it directly.
It's
That's going to
changed
make
my
me
life.
never watch them.
I really aren't a total simulationist. My brain hated that sentence, but it's okay.
I know, right? It's easy from the other side. You sit here and watch it. It's like, these are hard to read.
Good. I love making a good collaborative story, but I also get tired of characters with the reflexes of a mongoose and the strength of a jellyfish picking up a bow and assassinating their enemies from a rugby field away.
We just talked about that, yeah.
Right.
We beat
The
that
rugby
horse.
field is a very specific example.
Yeah, no one knows how far that is.
Yeah.
New Zealand.
How many football fields is that?
Probably a few.
Goodbye.
Unless
Williams.
you're talking about actual football, which is soccer.
Something All Blacks. Because they're cool and do a hawk at the beginning. Just as much as I hate characters who have the physical acuity of a wombat on psychedelics, but with the strength of a moose on roids, gleefully hewing off body parts left and right. So, bitching, whinging, and grumping over.
They always get rewarded, too. They're the ones on the cereal box, and yet the archer... Yeah.
Now for the promised story of story of unintended consequences. All right, trade. Y5.
Oh. Where were you?
Unintended
We're
consequences.
playing...
Oh, we are playing in a system called Dragon Warriors. It was originally published in 1985, and I first bought it at the tender age of 11, thinking it was a pick a path adventure. Oh, choose your own adventure.
Yeah, choose your own
Yeah,
adventure.
but they got it a lot faster.
Right.
It's efficient. I like that.
Little did my parents know that this game was going to turn their little sporty son into a gothic neophyte with an interest in everything that could be described as eldritch.
Oh, no.
Like, this is what the anti-D&D moms were afraid
Right,
of.
the moral panic.
Yeah.
I still...
No, not Blackleaf.
I still kicked ass on the rugby field and was known... Rugby's serious shit.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
Their first aid kit is a bucket of ice. No shit!
It is. It
Into
is.
it.
I still kicked ass on the rugby field and was known to listen to the occasional Johnny Cash song, Good On Ya.
Yeah.
Love is a burning flame, and it brings fire ring
I'll never forget your.
down a wild desire. I fell into a ring of fire.
He did it. He did a. Johnny Cash did a copy of "Hurt" by was it
Yeah, the guy from Nine Inch Nails.
Trent Reznor? Yeah. and you said it's a great quote from Stu, which is nobody knows more about addiction than Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
Right?
And when you
Trent-
hear that song,
Trent Reznor was such a bitch when they interviewed him about
dude,
about that. He's like, no, I wrote that. I didn't like the fact that he did it.
Yeah,
I wrote
I
that song
know.
in my
Just-
bedroom, man.
Such a fucking.
I'm
What
like,
does that even
dude,
mean?
Johnny fucking Cash just
Covered
liked
your
your
fucking
song enough.
Yeah.
It's Johnny Cash. It's not Trent Reznor.
Shut
Johnny
up.
Cash.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, and he just brought
The
so
hubris.
much pain
He
for
did.
it. It's so perfect.
And
like,
that's-
at the end, like, because, I mean, that wasn't, I think that was like less than a year before he died, right?
Yeah.
well, yeah, and I think his wife died before it was released.
Yeah, like June
Carter.
Yes.
Yes, she passed away like 6 months before he did. And yeah, I think you're right. And it was just like,
And that
you
song-
listen to
There's a
it.
shot of her in that video.
And that song is so powerful. And,
Oh, yeah.
And again, as Stu said, nobody knows more about addiction than Johnny Cash. I mean, and you can hear that.
Well, there may be more people who don't want addiction.
Yeah, but
than Johnny
nobody
Cash. But he
expressed
knows
it
a
that
lot
well.
about it.
Yeah.
Dude, I thought that was a really
Oh, yeah.
poignant thing.
Oh, it's-
I was like, once you said, I went back and watched it, I'm like, yeah, dude, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
He knows this landscape.
It brings your shit down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fact.
Anyway, carry
Listen
on.
to an occasional Johnny Cash song. So they were okay with the combat boots, black jacket, Bauhaus.
Bauhaus.
That's how Bauhaus is
No,
spelled?
but I think that's what he's going for.
Okay. And gruesome pictures of werewolves. We love you, Mac.
Hey.
According to the internet, a rugby field is 122 meters by 68 meters.
Nobody sent that to you. You actually looked that up on your own.
Yeah.
Just-
A soccer
was
you're
curious.
such,
a
that's
soccer pitch is 110 to 120 yards, or 100 to 110 meters.
awesome. You looked that up too?
I started.
Like, what is your point?
They're obsessive.
Good.
talking
No. Now let's do some quick unit conversion in our podcast. How the
I just
fuck many
said.
football
God damn
fields
it.
is that?
Right?
You said soccer pitch.
how many?
football field.
It is 1 point. A soccer field is 1.1
no,
football
we're
fields.
going rugby to football.
I don't know what was rugby. I don't remember what rugby was. What was rugby?
I have to look it up again.
Okay.
No, if you're going to start this, we finish.
And
We
rugby-
finish the math we start.
I'm only doing linear length. We're not doing area. I don't know.
He's a guy. It's only linear length with him.
The width is the most important part.
Girth matters. Girth
It's
matters.
like more important.
Yes.
I think it's total volume that matters.
Can we move on quickly before this gets even more awkward?
Nope. Nope to
We
both.
can make it more awkward.
Like, let me live in this.
Yes, we will roll.
Bring me the
in
hot
this.
vodka.
Yes.
We will live in this for the rest of the podcast.
Surface area.
No.
No, the surface is not the most important part.
No, no one wants to
Total
touch a
surface.
cube.
Well, total surface. Okay.
Well,
Continuing. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Well, what if it was a really long piece of spaghetti?
All right, Stu, you win.
As soon as the podcast is over, I will finish the thought.
thank you
I
for
won't say
changing
it
that.
now.
Angela. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Won't say it now. Yeah.
Dragon Warriors
Yes.
uses
Here we go.
multiple polyhedral dice and is roll low. So Stork and Kimmy would probably do quite well at it.
The shade
Shade.
of
Right,
love
but
him.
totally like
Shade.
lumped in with me.
Yeah.
I'm the young stork now. That's
You're
what
like
they
an
call me in the
egret.
chat room.
You're a Storklet.
Yeah.
Too bad she's better looking and kick my ass too. So
But you're
I think you
equally-
still have better hair.
Yeah. I am a little angry. I accidentally brought my dice in here, and I can feel them getting worse being in proximity. I did both of you.
I know.
Literally, the plastic is starting to crack.
Yeah, they're metal.
See how
They're
quickly they
rusting.
turn? You see this?
They have a half-life, and it just got halved.
Yeah.
See, and what they don't know is that we can just go molest their dice when they're not looking.
No touchy.
Is that what happens?
Yeah. She touched the dice.
Oh, we actually did that.
I know you did. I know.
All right.
You told me. You're the worst at keeping secrets.
Yes.
And what would be the point of doing that and not telling you?
Right? Well,
That's fair.
Any character or NPC can use a weapon to some degree. None of this
Except that.
mages only use daggers and staffs bullshit. GURPS does the same thing, by the way.
Yeah.
If your sorcerer wants to go full murder hobo, give that bad girl a two-handed sword and the dragon's breath spell and unleash hell. A starting knight has 6 hit points. By level 8, she has 12 hit points, and two-handed sword does 5. So while it is an attrition system, it's pretty fucking deadly attrition system.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like it. Dragon Warriors has some old school style mechanics too, but is not focused on a setting of.
Well, but it's very focused
on setting a dark theme for play. But is very focused on setting a dark theme for play. Full of the horror of Northern European mythology and providing great storytelling opportunities. Elves are not just daisy-eating tree huggers with bows.
That fucking visual.
Dude,
makes
that
me
is
so
that.
happy.
I'm still making a T-shirt. They're
Fuck
not
elves.
just elf, not just a daisy-eating tree hugger.
No, but like elves are just daisy eating.
No.
It's in my heart now.
Well, not in Dragon Warriors.
Yeah.
You have to have it with bows and then like an actual little pink bow on it.
Yeah.
You need
It's a bow with a fucking ribbon.
You need to have the Frazetta ripoff where it's like Conan standing on top of a pile of dead bodies, like elves, not just daisy eating.
Yes.
But he's standing on a pile of dead daisies.
Carry on.
With a bow, like a ribbon bow.
Yes.
Yeah.
In his hair.
Perfect.
They are members of the faithful.
A nice bow in the back, making his ponytail.
Yeah.
Or a top knot.
There you go. A man bun on the
A man bun.
What's wrong with man buns?
Nothing.
Okay.
I want a fuckboy elf t-shirt so badly.
A body pillow.
Yeah.
Fine.
Elves are not just daisy-eating tree huggers with bows. They are members of the Fey Court.
Yes, they are.
Fairy mounds are placed to fear.
That was super creepy.
Are places
Sorry.
to fear, and the Fey love nothing so much as torturing your character's mind and soul with the bargains they make, all the while never telling a lie.
And now I should go. I was premature.
It's okay.
Every time
came
you
out,
meet
it's fine.
a new type of creature, you have to make a save or your character runs screaming from it. As in the mind goes, nope, nope, nope. Ghosts can
that
literally
same
scare your character to death with a single saving throw, and every time
Wow.
you enter a town, you have a chance to catch the flu, the plague, or some nasty communicable disease. This does not sound like a fun game.
This sounds amazing.
It totally does.
And me actually traveling.
This is your Dark Ages mock game right here. This is what you really
Yeah.
want. This is like, these consequences. Like you walk into a dirty town that has the plague. You don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, the medic skill in Moment of Truth
Yeah.
for Blood, Blade, and Tusk has specific rules about getting infections
I'm just saying, like
when someone tries to help you.
from town to town,
Nice.
you can go from a town that everything's fine, and then you spend a day traveling. You go to
And you
another
don't
town
have their germs. You're not
and
immune
they
to their
might have the
germs.
plague, but
Right.
nobody's made it out yet. And
Or
now
maybe
you
a
go.
virulent cold that you don't
I
have any
really,
immunity
It's
to.
really sad that I'm giving him ideas. This is a really
Yeah,
bad
I'm-
idea.
Yeah, what are you doing?
I don't know.
Stop. I don't want to die of a dumb thing.
TPK influenza. Boom.
Perfect. It's such bullshit.
Because I know you won't do it.
It may not go 6 sessions.
And you get the measles.
Influenza, the role-playing game.
Rubella.
Steel.
I tell the players that this is more a supernatural and superstitious world rather than a magic world. And if you are caught doing magic, NPCs are first likely to run away screaming and then return with a lynch mob complete with torches and pitchforks. There you go. Speaking of players, let's introduce them. I have changed the names of the players because their names are not important other than their designators. Not because I am about to be particularly derogatory about any of them. 3 mainly play D&D and in a very high fantasy settings. Let's call them Alicia, Bob, and Charles. Or Charles. Alicia chooses to play a warlock.
All women play warlocks in D&D.
Kind of a twisted...
It's a weird thing that pops up in D&D. Usually, like, in my personal game, the first game, every time a girl came in to try for the first time, she's like, I'm gonna make a warlock.
Really?
Yeah, they're like sexy witches from the craft.
Interesting observation. Okay.
I would like to see the percent like who watched the craft as like a young teen or like late elementary school. Like, that's a good point.
Yep.
You know what?
I picked a warlock and I was like, I'm doing the craft. We're all doing the craft.
Like, to be fair, Abri and I have like shared craft gifs on Twitter quite often.
Okay.
Actually, multiple times.
Yep. Sorry, guy.
Kind of like a twisted back alley love child of a paladin and medieval Batman. She's going to be the daughter of a lord. Bob is playing a barbarian by the time of the incident I will talk about. He has already lost 2 characters. One through bad luck, the other through stupidity.
Yeah, Bob. Right. I
oh no.
Yeah.
Charles.
Me, man.
Charles plays a knight. He is
Affianced.
affianced to the sister of Alicia's character.
Nice.
One has played a range of systems, including a lot of GURPS. And Dragon Warriors. We'll call him Derek. He plays a mystic, can pump himself up like a Wolverine.
No, like Wolverine.
No, he just turned into a Wolverine.
I've never seen an inflatable Wolverine.
He's a werewolf.
I have.
No, an inflatable Wolverine?
Oh yeah, that's a thing.
Like the animal?
No.
Or the dude?
The dude.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure somewhere has an inflatable animal Wolverine.
Did it was it anatomically
I'm
correct?
not going to kink shame.
No, I don't know.
He had 5'3" and smelled like cigars.
No, it was like those
incredibly hirsute for a pillow.
The cigar was actually it was like one of the punching things.
I
like
paid a
you
lot
could
of
hit.
money.
Oh, okay, all right.
I mean, I'm sure they have other ones too, but I don't know what.
I paid a lot of money for that pillow.
If you can imagine it exists.
It's a collector's item now.
His character is a peacock of a man who is a minstrel who likes to play ladies as well as his lute.
It's not,
you know what he means.
Yeah, it's not a collector's item because of the stain stork. Good.
Nice.
And my last player has never played any role-playing games before, but liked Skyrim and other computer/console games.
Cool.
We'll name him Eric. Eric also chooses a knight. But can he be like a Viking? Mm-hmm. Hell yeah, you could be a Viking, I reply.
Nice.
In fact, Eric's character is called Lars the Handsome.
Hey,
nice.
I like it.
You got all the time. Hey!
In his backstory, he had set fire to a church that he was pillaging and horribly burned his body when he was trapped in the church. In fact, his head was so burned that he wore a sack with eye holes cut out.
Oh.
Cut out of it, yeah.
I'm a human being!
Yeah.
Cut out of it
so
that it wouldn't make children cry or villagers form mobs to chase them away. Because most of the players were unused to playing this style of game, I had not GM'd in over a decade.
Ooh, wow.
And I had not GM'd in over a decade.
Yeah.
I decided to start with pre-generated adventure. The adventure in the books have very good scene setting. We also have an overall theme for the campaign. The Warlock's sister and Charles Knight's affianced has been kidnapped by the Vikings, and they're going to raise an army to get her back.
Okay, so I have to pause there because this guy's taken on a huge load. I mean, he hasn't actually DM'd in a long time, and he's got a guy with a sack on his head. He's got a medieval Batman, and he's got Derek who can pump himself up like Wolverine. This is this is a lot.
It's
There's a lot to do for your like back into this whole thing. And I have to say, actually, for it's the Scandinavian underplayment, which is like a Derek the Handsome. He's so horribly scarred. He has a bag on his head.
That's fantastic.
Oh, sorry, Lars the Handsome. Sorry.
But
Also, all Vikings burn down churches. This makes me happy.
Well, yeah, they
did in our game too.
They kind of did
You
for a
gotta.
while. But I just love that Scandinavian sort of irony, which is like, yeah, he's the most handsome guy underneath that bag. Yeah.
So we happily start the campaign where I describe the world, the dark and gritty Dark Ages substitute, introduce the quest giver NPC, who gives them their first quest. The characters ride out of the quest giver's fortress and ride through the neighboring lord's lands on their way to the far-off land in search of the MacGuffin. The party comes to a bridge over a river overlooked by a hill, by the shores of Kichigumi. On the bridge are a number of warriors who are checking the contents of travelers' carts and bags and demanding a toll to cross the bridge, like actually happened in the Dark Ages. The soldiers stop the heavily armed party and demand a reasonably exorbitant toll.
Exorbitant fee. That was you, right?
Yes, exorbitant fee. It appears we have a game con to cross the bridge. Instead of haggling or anything similar, the warlock, one of the high fantasy D&D players, states, "How dare that peasant address me and make demands? The hell I'm going to pay, I charge."
It's me.
Okay, I want to pick this up here. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
At this point, I can see my nice, safe, pre-made adventure with its nice, easy tracks leaving the station and disappearing into the distance. We are not on board.
Well, yeah, that's because you have players, and players fuck shit up.
I look at the warlock and say something like, "You want to do what?" Her response, "They're not getting my money. I aren't paying. I charge." Okay. 10 minutes later, the first atrocity of the campaign is complete. The few warriors left flee. I remember Happy Jack's advice, and this is a quote, "Don't put anyone in front of the characters that you don't want to die."
That's true.
Yes. Accurate.
End quote. On the plus side, I have a new enemy for the party if they ever come back this way. If they ever come back this way. See how that... See,
right.
Several sessions later, I have immersed the players into the idea that everything outside of the villages and towns is covered in woods and needs to be treated like a Brothers Grimm tale. I have often mentioned several varieties of corvus, ravens, crows, etc., as being around for general description and set a gloomy type of atmosphere. You know, coming to a crossing, you see a gibbet with a corpse hanging from it. A conspiracy of ravens are feasting. The players put their minds... What?
No, I'm sorry.
The players put their minds together and add 2 and 2 to get 1,000,000. Obviously, all of the ravens and crows and the stuff that must be getting sent by deities, and of course, all of the deities that use corvus as their symbols, familiars, messengers, must be linked. So, the Morgaine, Wotan, the Saxon version of Odin, Mithras, and the rest are in cahoots, share powers, or something.
Oh, you can't forget Annie, the goddess of behavioral science.
Yeah! Call back!
Woo! Gods for the win.
I'm so glad it wasn't Annie, the goddess of musical theater.
No.
Tomorrow,
I love you tomorrow.
Hey, me as the GM, who am I to argue with such deductive reasoning? So, of course, they were all linked. And, of course, every raven, crow, rook, and magpie are just hanging out, waiting to inform the most fickle gods imaginable on the antics of the characters. As a result of the characters providing me with such a wonderful gift, I have had a fairy trapped in the form of a rook, a vision quest looking through the eyes of a raven, ravens leading members of the party through a cave system, a magic cloak made of rook feathers that all the characters have been too scared to try on, a box that, when open, launched forth a never-ending stream of birds that attack the party, and raven symbology littered all over the place to offer warnings and direction.
Nice.
The last acts of unintended consequences that I will describe involve our newbie role player and what I thought was a low-level magic item.
Yes, break the item.
The party enters a fairy mound. Look at this scene. The party enters a fairy mound, controlled by Fey Prince. All they have to do to survive it is from dusk till dawn. The mound is made of concentric circles leading to a ring in the middle, surrounded by a central chamber. Partway through, they come across a pit.
A pit.
By the expedient method of a few of the characters falling into it, at the bottom they, of course, find a number of corpses. Eric informs me that Lars will rummage around through the bodies to see what he can find. Hey, he's a Viking, so, pillaging dead is a fine tradition. Lars finds a magic bag. Now, I didn't want them to be getting items that were too powerful, so the magic sack can only hold one item at a time, but the item can be any size. As long as it can fit in the...
mouth.
Oh, as long as it can fit in the mouth of the sack, and the sack will not
Looking at
weigh.
the camera as you say this.
Yeah.
As long as it's not going to fit
Fit
in the mouth of the sack.
It's a long piece of spaghetti.
And the sack.
Right?
Just one really
Just
long
one.
piece of
Right.
spaghetti.
And the sack will not weigh anything more than a normal sack would. I think that's pretty cool not to cover over the top. I'm sorry. I got distracted.
I'll help.
Wait, I'll go.
You want to go?
Who wants to go next?
Who wants to say this next sentence?
Yes.
Him,
Should
you
there be
guys.
porn music now?
There might be. There might be.
All right.
Wow.
So how big is the mouth of the sack? Without really thinking about it, I say, I guess you could fit a horse in it. But the horse probably wouldn't like it much. Eric the newbie discusses the sack with the others, and over the course of several sessions, they develop their own lore around this sack. So,
Giggle and taint, and yet, see,
Sack.
this is, yeah.
so how can it fit anything in a sack and be weightless? They reach
Pocket dimension, that's simple.
Actually.
They reach a consensus that there must be a pocket dimension
course.
in the sack, and if you're going to be go shoving horses in the sack, there must be air in there. I have had no particular thoughts about it, and the idea of bagging a horse is more illustrative than literal. But sure, it could be an air-filled pocket dimension. Yes, and
I really want to reread that sentence again. The idea of bagging a horse is more illustrative than literal. But
sure. Why not? Okay.
And here's where GMs get in trouble. I haven't really thought about the physics of a bag of holding.
Okay,
Why not?
He's not being internally consistent. Because it can hold one thing. So it can hold a horse, or it can hold an air molecule.
Well,
That's science there.
Science!
Yep. Later, they come across a box, and when they open the lid, the never-ending...
Hold on. Not that there's actually such a thing as an air molecule, an oxygen molecule, or a nitrogen molecule, or carbon dioxide molecule. Yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
For those of you listening...
They're furiously typing right now.
Yeah. He also just pushed his glasses up his nose for everybody who can't see him right now. I'm being more expressive and describing. It smells
It's
slightly
more
stale.
illustrated than literal.
Yes.
I showered.
Not you. I meant the room in general, not you.
That's
particularly.
me.
That's the whole room.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not. The air conditioning's on, but I just thought it'd make it more interesting. All right. They come across a box, and when they open the lid, the never-ending stream of birds issues forth. Some of the characters try to fight the birds. Most run, but Eric says Lars puts the sack over himself, but leaves his feet out. That way, the birds can't hurt him in his little pocket dimension. And then with the help of the barbarian, who's just soaking up all the wounds ever, they shut the lid to the box. Near the end of this fairy tomb of horrors, they come across a fairy boar.
Well, the fairy boar.
A fairy
Why not?
boar.
Sure.
That thing smells stale.
Makes the best pulled pork.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, that's gonna be so good.
Yeah.
It goes so well with the
Everything.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Tastes like
The
daisies.
thing is, and you have no calories from that shit. All protein gains and no calories.
Right.
You're working out, aren't you?
Yeah, sorry.
You're in training.
I'm hungry all the time.
She's in training. It's all protein.
It's all protein.
You're just going to bulk up.
The thing is huge. Over a ton of angry pig.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Oh, protein. Eric again goes into his sack. He digs a boulder out of the wall and puts it in the sack. He then gets Derek to use his Mystic's telekinesis ability. It can only be used on light items to levitate the sack over the personification of Bacon's revenge and drop the boulder on it.
Oh, that's
Really
trick.
complex and good.
Nice.
I have no idea how you factor the damage from a boulder falling from a pocket dimension, but that's a great idea. So Hobo the Wonder Pig is dead.
Hambo.
Sorry, Hambo.
And yet
Wonder
again,
Pig is
as a
dead.
GM, you've given them all this leeway, and Stu has had to deal with this too. It's roll some stuff while I look a thing up. Yeah.
Bathroom break. That's what you do.
Bacon.
Yeah. Eric's next statement is, I put the boar in the sack. We will have all the furry pig meat you could ever want to eat. And the rest of the party is keen on this idea and help lever the carcass into the sack. I'm cool with that. What could possibly go wrong with that idea? Later on, they complete some story arcs. I give them a flying carpet so that they cut down on their dangerous travel time and get them from one part of the story to the other next in a legitimately fast way.
Okay, that's actually really cool.
That's
it gets them from one part of the story to the other.
Yes. What does the party do? Well, in an act reminiscent of I'm no mere hedge mage, they use the magic carpet to fly up above the feast hall of a lieutenant to the big bad and drop the fucking porker on him from about 100 miles out.
Yes.
Dead pig crashes through the roof of the hall and explodes, sending uncooked meat, bone fragments, and wood everywhere. Once again, I have no idea how much damage this is going to do, and just assume it's like a Franco-Spanish ships at Trafalgar, and everyone is either dead or maimed, or call it a major loss to the bad guys. So wait, though, if there's air in this pocket dimension, wouldn't the meat go bad as well?
Yeah, it would.
So it's super smelly.
If it has meat, it's probably got bacteria.
Yeah,
it might be really cold in there, though. You don't
maybe
know.
that's true.
Know.
Is it cold enough to have frozen the horse?
Yeah.
There was a movie, Fire and Ice, Wrecker Hauer, where they were like launching dead carcasses over the thing to help. And in fact, it was actual tactic. Yes.
Right.
Yes, it was like early germ warfare, but God, what movie was that? Somebody
Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yeah, accurate.
No, thanks for playing.
Accurate.
No, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, with the cow, but it was only recently dead.
No, it was actually alive.
Pork, trebuchet pun, and I can't do it. I just want you all to know that I tried my best.
Everything looks so straightforward until you add players. Then you just have to go, huh? Well, thanks.
Catapork.
Yeah, nice.
See, I was going to take
very good.
I was going to take a poll, but that's
okay.
Well, thanks for persevering with this deluge of consciousness, and keep up the good work. Enohora. Goodbye in Maori.
Maori.
Wait, what? How do you say it?
Raku?
Maori and Kiraku. Good job. P.S. Jermaine Klimt has put out a TV show spin-off on What We Do in the Shadows.
Yes.
It's a police procedural comedy called Wellington Paranormal.
Thank you, Jermaine. I'm a swearwolf.
We're very aware of it, yes, and we are very looking forward to it.
High-coded text.
Yes.
So good.
That was an epic email, but there was lots of
good
crunching
shit.
that. Yeah, very
Lots
good.
of meat and a lot of it pork.
A lot of it.
Yes.
Lots of protein.
By the way, we didn't appreciate Hambo enough.
Right.
That was great.
And I just need everyone to know that that's good.
I take total responsibility because I said it wrong, because we talk about murder hobos so often. I jumped automatically to that, but Hambo was amazing.
I enjoy that.
High five for that.
That's a good name.
Yeah.
I
Did
laud.
you get the PS?
I got it.
We got it.
Yeah,
We talked about it,
Okay.
We were texting. I laud players' creativity. I can remember once that the GM just offhandedly said, "Yeah, but the one of the wizards has a spell that you can make all the bread you want." And then for some reason, this is early D&D, we wanted to have a whole massive army thing, and I'm like, "Well, this guy can just make all the bread ever. Why don't we just launch bread at them and drown them?" And the GM's like,
Yes.
"I gave you an unlimited bread spell, so." And I could just see him like, oh, yeah, really? And that's just the players, like, latching on to the most obscure thing. So it's like, sure, why not? Yeah, there's a bag of holding. Why not? Sure, it's got air in it, right? And then it comes back to haunt you 3 or 4 sessions later. And that's the plight of the poor GM. They make these decisions on the fly, and then the players go, you made that decision on the fly.
No, I don't feel like they...
I'm going to exploit this.
Yeah.
See, I don't get that vibe from this. I think they were just being super creative, and I think it's awesome that the GM went with it and and that shit. It's like, absolutely, you can drop a Hambo through the roof of your enemies.
Right?
Yeah,
like, it's amazing. It's so good.
And it does it. At least a role playing that you never would have ever thought of, as a GM and such. But
it's like
it puts the GM in a place like, yes, okay, so you drop a pig through the roof, and you're thinking to yourself, well, God, I had this whole.
Who cares?
Well, that doesn't mean it doesn't mean the pig hits the king.
Yeah, I know.
It could just mean that it scares the fuck out of the king.
Yeah.
I like the whole fact that it would have been rotten. So it was like,
this super gross,
diseased pig.
Now,
everywhere.
do flies count? Can flies go inside the pocket dimension along with the giant pig?
No, those are separate entities.
one and
But why isn't it an air molecule?
But see, the guy was able to go in.
This thing is an air molecule.
What about a bacteria?
There's not just one thing, because he was able to go in with the rock, so it's not just a one holder.
No, he wasn't in there with the rock.
Oh.
He was in there except his feeties.
And this
so
is
they could
why.
close the raven.
Okay.
The raven.
Okay.
box.
And
And
this is
then
where
different
things
times
go
there's a
sideways.
Okay.
bolter.
Right.
I love this.
It's
love
so
it.
good.
Oh, God, it's so good.
See, even as like listening in, we're like figuring out ways to exploit this.
Hell yes.
Because you gave him a magical thing.
Who was it that had the portable hole? Someone told the
Bruce.
story.
Yeah.
They had 2 portable holes, and they set them up and dropped something and waited until it reached like
terminal velocity, and then pull one of them
did
out.
something with it. I don't
That's a
remember
Bruce
exactly.
thing.
Now you're thinking with portals.
Yeah.
That shit's great. I love it.
This was years before portals, though.
Could you put a turducken in it? Does that count as one thing?
Well, apparently, according to the fucked up logic that bag uses, yes.
Okay.
Because I mean, you
How
put
do
a
it
pig in
now?
it. Do
I'm
you
just
put
saying,
what
if you
the
have a
pig had-
name for it, it's a one thing.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, if you called it a turkey, duck, chicken,
Yes,
then no,
then
it
no,
doesn't
that's
fit. But
the-
once you go, I am entering a turducken into the bag, the bag chooses to accept it because it's a sentient pocket
So,
dimension.
well, it makes sense because I
It's
mean,
a crowd. So I'm just going to prove the whole crowd.
yeah! You called it one thing. Congratulations,
party.
you passed the test.
Yes, the party. Yep.
Yep.
My army.
Yep.
Yeah.
All of this holds for me.
Yeah.
As long as they're holding
I like
hands, it's
it.
one thing.
Yeah.
6 dogs playing poker.
No, use the number in there.
Yeah,
See,
6
and-
dogs. And
and
it's plural,
You
dogs.
said a dog poker game.
But if
That's one
dogs
dog
holding
poker game.
hands is plural.
But dogs can't hold hands.
Yeah.
They don't have thumbs.
Well, no, and I said my
Oh,
army.
they don't have
interlink.
hands.
They could interlink a little.
Well, I said my army, too. That's not plural.
They've really,
That's
Army
true.
is a one thing.
they've really distended do clause. Does that count as a thumb?
If you say the pack.
And part of my thing is
It
like,
would be if your thumb was on your elbow.
as a GM, sometimes you are tempted to correct these things.
Right.
Sometimes in mid-game. And at some point you're like, all right, so there's no air in there anymore, all right? So your army walks in and they're dead. Okay, they're dead.
Cool. I have a lot of
Nah,
corpses
that's
to
a dick
drop.
move.
Right?
Yup.
It
That's a
is and
total
it
dick
isn't
move.
because at some point...
No, it's 100% a dick move.
but your players are going to utilize that. They're like, oh, really?
That's fine.
Yeah, then you gave it to him. That's the thing.
You're the
Yeah.
GM. You control everything else about the world except what they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can handle that.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so that's my takeaway from this. is
Assuming you're not playing a hippie game.
if you made this decision and you lived with those consequences, and I laud the fact that that's what he did.
Oh, yeah.
He rolled with whatever they gave him, whatever they did with it, and it sounds like he actually is celebrating it because
Yeah.
they did amazing things with it.
When you
So-
can find the fun in like a super gloomy setting,
Right?
that's great.
Right? And as a GM, if you screwed up, or in hindsight, you're like, "Oh my God, why did I ever do this?" Just roll it because that's what your players are going to remember.
Yeah.
I sat down at a table, and this isn't. Oh, I don't know. This got to be 5 years ago, and it was. I was sitting down with two, a D&D and a Pathfinder player. Pathfinder had recently come out.
Yeah,
Might have been longer than it was longer than 5 years ago.
that's a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the guys is a guy that works fair. I could describe him to you, you'd probably know him.
Kevin.
Older guy.
That guy.
Long hair,
No,
had a beard.
no, short, white gray hair,
Like,
glasses.
why don't we just continue on with
Anyway.
this? Yeah.
Kevin.
You know him. I'm sure you know
I know
him.
what Kevin looks exactly like.
There
that.
we go.
And then a younger guy who was the Pathfinder guy. And the two of them sat down at this table. And I was sitting there with them because I
remember this.
The game was over.
I remember this
And they're
story.
telling stories back and forth about all of the creative ways players have used D&D or Pathfinder spells to come up with some creative way to do something. And it's what the game is made for, really.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, you come up with something, you come up with the internal logic on how the thing works, and you put it out into the world.
Yeah.
And if someone figures out a way to exploit that to do something, good on them. That's
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons the game exists.
Everybody remembers creative things or interesting things that happen. Nobody remembers the game or what was happening in the game, but everybody remembers my poor sorcerer wandering down the wrong corridor.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all they remember out of that game. Do you remember what happened after that? Do you remember what happened before that?
8 hours of combat happened after that.
Yes.
Yeah, and no one remembers 8 hours of combat.
No.
But they remember.
They remember 8 hours of combat.
You don't remember what happened.
But you don't remember bullet by bullet. You don't remember.
No.
What the interesting thing
Hardest fight you guys ever had.
It was. We had a bunch of new people, and we all had new powers, and nobody knew how to use them.
No,
you
it
were
was-
still in 4th edition
It was
D&D.
4th edition D&D with 9 players.
Yes.
It was legitimately 8 hours of combat. I wasn't kidding.
We had all leveled up, which is why I wanted down, because I'm all cocksure, because I have new powers. But none of us knew how to use them yet. Anyway, the point being, that's what people remember, is those interesting story choices, those interesting exploits. Not that that was an exploit, but that's more interesting than just the combat. As a GM, sometimes you think, all right, we got to get to the combat because this is what they want. And if you sit back and listen to your players, they're arguing and having a lot of fun. You need to sometimes say to yourself, okay, what I want or what I think they want are two different things. Mm-hmm. They're going to tell me what they want. I'm just going to sit back and let this happen.
Right.
All right, they're going to use this bag of holding. I'm going to have to yes-and this because I gave it to them. And they are going to love you for that, and you're going to love the game at the end of this. Even though you think to yourself at every turn, holy shit, why did I give them this bag of holding? I fucked this game up.
Oh, yeah.
But they're going to come back out years later, and you guys are going to be like, you're going to beer 15 years later. It's like, dude, that game with the bag of holding, and you're going to think to yourself, fuck, I thought that was a fuck up. And yet they love it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Yeah.
All that stuff comes back, and it makes the most interesting games.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to me, I mean, at least at the end of his email, that he thinks it was a mistake. I think he is as amused as we are by the story right now. So I think he already realizes, and the fact that he was yes-anding so much to the whole story, says that he's, embraced this as,
you have to embrace it.
A crazy thing that's happened. And I feel like we are even going to be telling these stories from your email about your game to us. Remember that bag of holding with the pig? Hambo! It is now stuff of legend.
Yep.
So well done.
Yep.
All right.
I'm going to call this.
Absolutely.
It's time to smoke this pork butt.
Hambo.
True first pork. I have You can totally stop now.
Thank you for joining us.
Unlike Orc, which is the other green
Season 22, episode 10 the Happy Jacks RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy.
I'm still Stork.
And I'm Abria.
And we'll see you next Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific time at happyjacks.org/live. And you can watch the show then this Sunday, first episode of Blood, Blade, and Tusk.
Yeah! Borderlands is the actual official name.
Borderlands.
Speaking of Orc, the other green meat.
That's right. So thank you very much. We'll leave the song. It won't be as recorded. I don't have it on my card. Sorry.
Next time, go look for it. It's great.
I'll find it.
The French are still mad.
Back.
Dragons, hero pathfinder, fatal savage wild, evil plots will be usurping, though we could do with less burping. Happy Jack's podcast will be douchebag song. Drink on me, lads, and I will sing a song of heroes, of all the bravest Englishmen that sail across the sea, meeting all of England's foes in fearsome battle, that by the grace of God England shall always be. So raise your tankards high and sing along with me. That by the grace of God England shall always be, always be, always be. That by the grace of God England shall always be. The Spanish do invade our shores to vanquish England. A toast, me lads, to all the men who fight to keep her free, driving back the Spanish horde with ships of fire. That by the grace of God England shall always be. So raise your tankards high and sing along with me. That by the grace of God England shall always be, always be, always be. That by the grace of God England shall always be. While drinking good sorority they were barely seamen, a brave and fearsome fighter he'd sail for Brittany, and when they hear his name, Spaniards tremble, that by the grace of God England shall always be. So raise your tankards high and sing along with me.
That by the grace of God England shall always be, always be, always be. That by the grace of God England shall always be.
So now, me lads, methinks 'tis time we join these heroes and drink a toast to each of them and their heroic deeds. On land and sea we shall defend a gracious nation, that by the grace of God England shall always be. So raise your tankards high and sing along with me.
That by the grace of God England shall always be, always be, always be. That by the grace of God England shall always be, always be, always be.
The preceding program has been a presentation of the Angry Folk Media Empire.
Go away, Baton!
No, Johnny, these men are nihilists. There's nothing to be afraid of.
You know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Why problem make when you no problem have, you don't want to make?